Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV Podcast 571. Regular date and time, 8:30 Central on Wednesday, 8:26 to be exact.
I mean, I was ready at 7:50, Terry. 7:50, I was here. You were ready. Had a little issue with your mic, and famous last words were, "Hold on, just let me reboot." And then everything went downhill.
I'll take the loss here. Yes, this one's all on me. Good old some kind of issue. Trying to make it all look and sound as best as we can. Nice camera, nice microphones with computer, and 25 minutes later, it's all thrown out the window, and here I am with a phone that's probably going to die. So this is the way we're doing it. Welcome in, everyone. It's podcast 571, coming off of a Labor Day weekend, and in the grand scheme of things, a relatively calm and quiet weekend on the international and even the local disc golf scene in terms of our Disc Golf Pro Tour and high-level events. Of course, CCR being one of those exceptions to really being the largest event that was probably filmed and actually covered this weekend. But outside of that, no Disc Golf Pro Tour. So things a little bit quieter this weekend, and of course, we're gearing up for DGLO.
Well, there was no Disc Golf Tour, but last week, right after the show, as we predicted on Wednesday, the Disc Golf Pro Tour dropped a bunch of news. They dropped the tour for next year. They dropped this new Jomez series. There was some news that was happening, but just, of course, they like to announce on Wednesdays. I don't know why. They must hate us.
For what it's worth, I believe the plan was to try and get it out on Tuesday. It would obviously not for us by any means, but I believe the original plan was Tuesday. And as always, I'm sure there's just a million things they have to button up. You're talking with all these LOCs. You're talking with all these different communities and everyone else. And nothing for nothing. It's a really big deal, clearly, to get this schedule out. I don't envy any of the work and or challenge that goes into putting in the schedule. And if the complaining year after year isn't enough of a deterrent, I don't know what else is. But it's out, and here we are, gearing up for 2026 already.
We are. You know what we should do, though? Let's go over the CCR results first, before we talk about anything, before we get into anything from next year or whatever news happened this past week or whatever events we want to talk about. Let's get CCR kind of out of the way. I don't believe you or I really had time to watch a lot of video on this, but I did keep up to date on some of the news. And we will start with our MPO division. Silas Schultz takes down the CCR. He's had a good past 2 to 3 weeks, shooting very well at Idlewild, kind of keeping himself in the conversation there for a while. Shooting 38 under par for the weekend, beating Luke Taylor, another guy who is having a late season resurgence. We heard about him at the end of last season, and then we didn't hear much from him early in the season, but now he's kind of come back on, I would say, over the last few weeks. Luke Taylor shooting 36 under par for second place. Tied for third, we've got Evan Scott and Andrew Marweed. As we know, this is Marweed's time of the year. This is when he blooms, he sprouts. He's just a little seed up until now, or maybe he's just a little chocolate chip, and come to the end of the season, he blooms into a full cookie.
He's a morsel.
He's a
chocolate chip morsel.
There you go. He's a snack pack. He's a fun size, and then now he's the full chewy Chips Ahoy.
Back off already. All right, he's already recently married. Right.
All right. And then tied for fifth place, we've got Zach Nash, Harry Chase, Jake Mon, Jonathan Borzik. Ninth place, Aaron Gossage. Probably a little lower than a lot of people would have expected in this type of field. He's one of our top players. He was bested by a couple of the smaller names like Jonathan Borzik, Harry Chase, Zach Nash. Those are all great players, but Gossage is that touring pro that we expect to, on these off weeks to finish top. I'd say top 5 for certain, maybe even top 3. And in 10th place, Luke Sampson. Luke Sampson at 28 under par. Do you have any insight into the CCR at all, Terry? Does it
No, unfortunately, there's not a lot that I can report on. It's an event I personally have never been part of in any kind of either playing way back in the day or more recently in any kind of filming capacity. Obviously, they've really positioned themselves to be a stop that's logical with our touring players that are in Michigan, and they did just that very effectively. Of course, this year, very difficult to come off of the stretch that we had, being the European, then the Ledgestone, then the Idlewild stretch, and then come here and then fitting themselves in. So clearly, some players went to take advantage of that, and I don't blame them. But a lot of players took off. I mean, the question I asked Kyle Klein during the press conference today is, was there any thought of you playing in that? And he's like, he was just really talking about how it was great to be home in Michigan, but no slight to the tournament, but he was ready to have a weekend off. And I think that's a common sentiment. Of course, Paul Macbeth and a number of others all did a ton of other things this weekend, this past weekend. I mean, Holland Hanley said she worked on her game and played some casual rounds with friends, but she was okay with not being in a tournament. So that's what I can say about the event. It sounds like things went pretty good. Obviously, Silas was your winner, and when I saw him today, I congratulated him as much. And he made comment that it was nice to get past Lou Taylor, who obviously not only is a great player, but then is local to the area as well, being in Michigan. So he was excited about that. And then Silas looking ahead to, he's behind the eight ball a little bit. I think he said he's sitting in like 42nd place in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings. And of course, he needs a good finish here. And then he's already looking ahead to GMC and trying to pick up a lot of points. And he knows that only being at one major this year really hurt him. So although he's been at, did well at Ledgestone, he knows, and at Idlewild, he did all right. He knows that he needs to really pick things up because he's still stacking points on top of points where some of the other players have hit their, minimum. And so they might increase their points overall, but not necessarily drastically, where he's still looking to add on to his points. So it's kind of a long-winded sidetrack, but it is relative to our winner of the event. So it was really good conversation with Silas out on the putting green today as I was out at the course. But that's unfortunately all I can personally report on with regards to the CCR.
Okay. Then we'll go kind of right over to the FPO side before we bring our guest in on this conversation in general this week. The FPO side, Kat Murch wins this. Kat Murch getting a win. She shot 19 under par, beating Deanne Carey and Owen Scoggins and Rebecca Don by 2 strokes. So that was a 3-way tie for second among those 3 women. In 5th place, Kylie Kohut, who we were just talking about at Am Worlds. We said, like, these are the names you're going to start hearing on the Pro Tour, and literally a week later, she is at this A tier, and she's taking 5th place, shooting a 991 final round, overall event rating of 968, so, a mere, I think, 52 points above her rating. That ain't a bad weekend. Followed in 6th place by Addison Woodard, our guest from a few weeks ago, who was she's an Illinois native, correct? That was playing in Ledgestone and kind of hung around the chase card a lot of the weekend. It was just kind of kept poking around. Like she's had a bunch of phenomenal shots. She throws a mile, probably a bunch like Kylie. In 7th place, Chantel Badinsky. In 8th place, Sarah Hokum, tied with Trinity Bryant. And in 10th place, another of these Am Worlds players, Therese Cuevas.
Our winner come back at Am World. So, I mean, we know that so many of those players are essentially pros or semi-pros already. And so watching them now become regular names that we're going to see out on the tour or playing more often. Now, some of them, I don't know everyone's story, of course, but some of them have things like school to actually attend because so many of those players are pretty young. So whether it's a homeschool or, or an online schooling situation, I'm not sure. We'll have to dig a little bit more into that. But I know, for instance, like Addison Woodard was talking about being at this event. And she said, I'm just taking it, day by day. And she was looking to actually qualify to get into the DGLO this upcoming weekend. So, but her schedule would fluctuate because she does have that luxury advantage, whatever you want to call it, of doing the homeschooling and online schooling. So yeah, kind of interesting when you're talking about a whole bunch of players that are anywhere between the ages of 15 and 17 and still have some of that education stuff to make sure that they lock in and get complete. So,
I mean, we saw it with
awesome.
Gannon a few years ago. He had to finish high school as well before he got on the tour, and now we're just seeing it with some of the FPO side.
Yeah, it is pretty funny that I remember him talking about having to get things submitted and when he could go to an event and even finishing up some rounds and then having to kind of rush off to go get some homework done to make sure it was submitted in time. And that's where we're at with our young up and coming stars within our sport for some of them. And if that's where their heart and soul and passion is, and they're getting all their stuff done with school, you got to love that they're hopefully going to continue to make sure they at least get that priority of getting that high school diploma. You don't have to fight for that later. No. All right. Well, with that, I think we've got a special guest, and in a little bit of the chaos tonight, hopefully everything's going to still work out for him. But he was able to join us, and he's doing it in person. In fact, he's sitting right next to me. A gentleman that made a trip over last night, and we're going to learn a little bit more about his roles and responsibilities for the weekend. I thought he might be here to play, but apparently he's got another agenda. So a SmashBoxx original and regular. I'd like to welcome to the show none other than one Dynamite, Dana Vicich. He's arrived. Come on, sit on up here. Get up here so everybody can see it. I'm going to even try and adjust this just for
no, it was perfect, Terry. It was perfect.
You sure?
Yes,
all right,
100%.
All right.
It was 100% perfect.
It felt like he was cut off, and we can't have.
Not at all. I've got you on the full. Don't worry about it.
I'd be on, but I can't be cut off. Either on camera or you or JVD. I know he loves cutting me on.
Okay, you're done. Okay, Dynamite. Little did we know that last night you and I were potentially on Interstate 94, ripping through Chicago, heading over here to the Ann Arbor, Wixom, Detroit-ish area, probably almost at the same time. I almost texted you. Then we would have for sure been able to catch up. But you're here. What are you doing?
Yeah, came up to the DGLO for the first time ever, maybe?
Really?
Wait, no. I think I may have played a DGLO when they brought it back to the toboggan way back in the day.
Okay.
Got my butt kicked, Played Am Nationals once. That's not DGLO, but yeah, I think I've done one DGLO many, many, many years ago. This year, while I did bring my discs, they are not for playing in the event. Going to be here working.
Okay. And working for you, of course, we've had you on the show, and we've been seeing email blasts, and you have graciously, you guys have actually submitted a few SmashBoxx prizes for us. We appreciate that. But working for you, what does that mean when you're describing work these days?
So I work with Discraft to run the Climo disc golf brand. So this week, Ken Climo is up here in Michigan, hanging out through Friday. He's heading back to Florida Saturday morning. So had him out doing Play with the Champs today. We went over to the factory and the warehouse to have a look-see, have a few meetings, do a few things there, and got a little meet and greet in between that. And tomorrow we're going to be hanging out at the amateur check-in, and we've got to shoot some content. And Friday, I think, weather pending, it's looking a little rough. We're going to be set out at Toboggan selling some Climo discs.
Okay. I think one of the things that I've seen recently is on socials from you guys is you and Kenny and a couple of people from Discraft. You guys are all at the factory, and Kenny was essentially going through disc by disc things that he really liked, whether it was sparkles in a disc or whether it was the footy, the pliability, the actual grip of the plastic. Like there was 20 discs out on this table, and you guys were going through kind of talking about the likes and dislikes. I was going to say pros and cons. It's really the likes and dislikes for Kenny specifically. Is that how the process has been going all along? It's what Kenny wants and likes?
Essentially, everything is going through Kenny. Now, we haven't necessarily all been in the same room, let alone, sitting, touching the disc, looking and saying, I like this or I like that. It's been a lot of shipping discs around to Illinois, to Florida, and then converging and saying, yeah, I like this, but let's, I really want it to be flat, or I want it to be softer or stiffer, or, et cetera, et cetera. So essentially everything with Climo disc golf, I don't want to say everything, nearly everything goes through Ken. And we, even if it doesn't, it's in his, it's in the same vein.
Yeah.
What he likes and wants, especially early on, wants all these products to be stuff that he is excited, happy about, wants to bag and makes him happy, just to make him happy. And then hopefully, the Ken Climo and disc golf.
This will be a SmashBoxx exclusive, but has there been a time where he said something and you just felt the exact opposite? Whether he's like, oh, I love how this feels, and you're like, oh, I don't like how that feels at all, or vice versa, where you're like, man, I really wish he was leaning like this way. There has to be a disagreement in there somewhere.
Yeah, of course. There's, we're not just fully lockstep. I don't think anybody is, but there's been some designs like the Bel Air stock artwork. So the Bel Air is the mid-range. The graphic artist and I worked hard on a number of mock-ups, and then picked our couple favorites, brought them to Bob, and then brought them to Ken. And Ken didn't like the one that I really liked.
Okay.
And so said, okay.
I can guess who won this conversation, who won the discussion.
I wouldn't.
And it's not even winning, but yeah.
So said, okay, this is your brand. This is, we want you to love what we're making. Don't want to just make things and say, hey, we made this, or you see it, get an email and say, oh, wow, they're releasing this. Ken knows everything that's coming. When I write an article, I'm sending it to him, or when there's a release coming up, or we just have a sale, I send him a note with, hey, this is kind of what the sales numbers look like. And, it was good. It was a little soft, or this, that, or the other. So, but yeah, the Bel Air artwork would have been one case where I really liked. It was like a signature. It kind of gave me the golf vibes, which I liked, because the Bel Air. He first golfed at the Bel Air Golf Club, and that was the road he grew up on as well. So I thought it felt that it fit a theme of golf, being Bel Air, and just the way we presented it. But he didn't like it, so we pivoted. And honestly, I like the new Bel Air artwork better than the original. So we went back to the drawing board, and it still turned out great.
And when you guys are doing these, reviews, and like you said, I know a lot of them, they're just shipped and whatnot. That's just logistics. But how many times have you guys been at the factory together? Has that been a handful of times already?
Ken and I, this will be our second time at the factory together. He came at the beginning of the year. I was at Disney, so I couldn't make it up. And so, this is our second time at the factory together. So we went in and, see the production crew, and, everybody that's making discs, go say hi to the people we've met, are getting to know, and then also collaborating with. It's I gotta say, it's nice to have, FaceTime with everybody at the same time.
And then when you guys are working on these discs, is it, what's the pace that you're hoping for? Is it a matter of building out an entire line? I'm guessing you don't need 2 or 3 or 4 mid-ranges before you've got, one driver or whatever. And I know you've expanded, but what's kind of the pace that you guys are hoping for?
Yeah, I think, at this point, we're into September, and the 5th mold, the streak, the first run drops tomorrow, actually. So that's a fairway driver. So my thoughts are we've got 5 molds. as of tomorrow officially. We've got 4 or 5 different plastic blends. So I feel like we've brought a lot to market, and as everybody knows, there's a lot of discs on the market right now. So I'm excited to get to the next one. I want to make sure that we're giving each disc a chance to shine the spotlight, because oftentimes it's all right. We're releasing this disc, and 2 weeks later it's this disc, or it's week. Or not we as in Climo disc golf, but brands, and some discs get lost in the mix, and I think it hurts sales, and it also hurts the disc potential. So we're able to release a disc like the Streak and do it justice, promote it, do reviews, talk about it, do giveaways to influencers, do all the things that we want to do to market and promote the disc over a sustained period of time. I think that disc will have a longer, it'll stay in people's minds a lot longer, and then ultimately result in more sales, more people throwing it, rather than, all right, what was that disc the other day? We're already on to the next one.
Yeah, and you and I kind of briefly mentioned it earlier in the day when we ran into each other. The disc market is clearly, there's more manufacturers than ever. There's more discs than ever. It's such a saturated place to be. Everybody wants a piece of that pie, and it's a noisy place to be. And to stand out and not only time the releases, not only have discs that people want, but also then time them and give them the right amount of time to shine. From a marketing perspective, it has to be almost overwhelming.
It is. It can be a lot. And then when you're looking at marketing and all the different brands, it's like, how do you differentiate yourself? And that's not necessarily easy to do. It's easy to follow the paths or the tracks that have been laid before, but something that I'm thinking about, and I want to be aware of, not to do the same old. But for right now, with year one, it's all about strong foundation, getting strong base mold plastics, and then kind of getting into the more fun stuff.
Yeah, and it's got to be so tough, especially with a player that's not in competition week in and week out. If Gannon, for instance, has a release, if AB and Paul, have a level up Luna, it's seen, it's talked about, they're out playing with it immediately. Kenny, of course, is a legend of the game and the greatest to ever play it, but we're also not seeing him compete every week and seeing a ton of people necessarily grabbing these and going out and playing with them immediately.
Yeah. He's not, he's not doing not on the pro tour. He's not in people's faces on the network and doing what did you do today?
The press conference.
Yeah. Not the press conference. So it is a little bit different, with Ken not being out there, and so we've got to, in my opinion, lean on the past.
Mm-hmm.
He's the I'm always the GOAT, and then also today, getting him out, and I don't want to say getting him relevant, but just having him be out there and be a part of the sport in a variety of ways. And so I'm pleased with what we've done so far this year. Ken's been all over the country, a number of events, supporting, hanging out, doing various things, whether it's poker night or play with the champs. He's been gracious with his time for St. Jude, the Paul Macbeth Foundation, or just going and hanging out at Am Check-In and meeting people. I got to tell you, at Ledgestone a few weeks ago at the Fly Mart, it's just so much fun hanging out and having people come up and say, 1997, I bought this disc, and just go back to their early days, or when they began, or when they met 10 years ago, or if they're a new fan and just getting to know them and seeing those interactions. But a lot of the old school people that come and say hello, it just it puts us on the face, not to be cheesy or anything.
No.
It's just fun to be a part of, and and is having fun, and that's important too. Don't want to just be dragging them out to these he's enjoying himself. He wants to be here. He wants to be doing these things, and so that makes all that much better.
Well, one thing that's so unique about Ken, and this goes hand in hand, he arguably had one of the greatest golf IQs ever, right? The things he thought about. I remember listening to him 25 years ago, him talk about something, and he was breaking down something, and I was like, oh, I would have just never even in a million years dawned on me. And he's 9 layers deep on it, that he's thinking about, well, I was checking the wind on this hole. I'm going to be playing it in 6 holes, and just whatever the case is. I mean, he is, so much, and that's why he's such a great commentator as well. But then on top of all that, he has an insane memory. I mean, I can only imagine the people that walk up to him, how good he's always been with remembering names. He doesn't remember every person's name, every single time, of course, but he's way above average in terms of remembering names. And sometimes he'll dig deep and be like, yeah, didn't we play in, the 99 Worlds together? And you're like, what? Like, you've thrown hundreds of thousands of shots, played with tens of thousands of people probably throughout his career, beat damn near every one of them, but will occasionally, or more often than not, have some memory of that person and or that round. And that's insane. I mean, don't feel bad if he doesn't, but, have that when you run into him or see him. But the amount of times he does, I had a friend just last weekend say to me, he's like, yeah, I ran into him at Pro Masters Worlds. He's like, he remembered my name. And he's like, I hadn't seen him in 20-some years. And I'm like, yeah, and I was not shocked. I was like, that's the Ken that I know. It's got to be incredible to witness something.
Yeah, it's fun. Like seeing him like sit there and think and then spit something out like that is really impressive.
Yeah,
you're out there every week. You've been doing it for 20+ years. I've been playing for 20+ years and not out as much as you, but I've met lots of people, and it's hard to keep everything and keep names and track and places and throws. Like, we even at dinner tonight, we're hanging out and talking about just going way back. And he's got an incredible memory, and he's a great storyteller too.
Yeah.
And is able to weave it in, if you will, really well. So I heard a lot of great feedback from, I think it was Master Worlds, when he opened up the live show with the Disc Golf Network.
Yeah.
I hope to get Ken back behind the microphone, or I hope he can get back behind the microphone at some point.
Yeah.
Some way.
I guess we should think about it. Maybe before he takes off this weekend, maybe we could. I'd love to be out on the course, and whether it's walk around for a couple holes or even just have him check in for a minute.
Yeah.
I was reminiscing earlier today that Climo saw the original toboggan course back in 2000, which was the time Johnny V played it. It was the time I played it. That's when it was introduced, really, was at the 2000 Pro-Am Worlds here in Ann Arbor. And they needed more courses. They were, we had all of these pros and AMs that were playing, and the toboggan was debuted. And I remember for me, it was the last course that I had played for the World Championships. Ironically, or coincidentally, maybe, I don't know if it's ironic, but I played with Dave McCormick, owner of Gateway Disc, during that final round. We weren't chasing down any cash or anything, but I remember being out here, in 25 years ago, and to think, obviously, Kenny was here picking up a title.
Yeah, I think he said that. I asked him, when was the last time you've been in Toboggan? Did you ever come back after that first? No, 2000, I think he said.
Okay.
No, they played lots of DGLOs at, maybe
Hudson
within
Mills.
the park, or,
Sure.
at Hudson Mills or wherever else. So he's got a long history with Michigan. So watching him go out and rip on the 9 holes with Play with the Champs today was pretty cool. I only caught a few holes. There was holes for me.
Sometimes not so bad that you can let Kenny just go and do his thing, and you.
I said, here,
you pull back.
I gave him the umbrella, and I said, I was working. I'm gonna go work in the car. Sell a few discs for you.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that sounds pretty cool that he was out there, and like you said, hopefully everybody enjoyed the time. I mean, I think about, like, if there was any other sport I was remotely interested in, and then I had the opportunity, even if it's past their prime, had the opportunity to go meet and hang out with them playing that sport, or just walking alongside them, down a fairway for a couple hours with someone like Kenny. I just think of that in any other sport. Like what a unique experience and opportunity. How
Been
did
there,
the play
done
with the
that.
champ? Yeah, how did the play with the champs? What was kind of the how did that get put together? Was that a VIP purchase? Was that a drawing thing? Was that a sign? Like what? How did people even were part of it today?
Yeah, so it was register ahead of time on Disc Golf Scene.
Okay.
So you can either purchase so they have 4 or 5 pros typically, and they draw a new partner each hole. And so you can either purchase raffle tickets, or if let's say you got a couple extra bucks, you can actually buy a guaranteed
a spot. Okay.
So you can, and it's money all is for charity.
Yep.
And I didn't look, but this one was either St. Jude or Paul Macbeth Foundation.
Sure.
Paul played in it, so I'm thinking maybe this was a Paul Macbeth Foundation potentially, but that was an event that I started at Ledgestone many years ago.
Yep.
You were out filming those early round, early years, and we have a ton of people. I know Nate Heinold hired me to come help fundraise and do things at Ledgestone, and that was one of my initiatives that I was pretty. I'm proud to see that it's still going and that it's expanded, and it's offered at DGLO and wherever else Ledgestone they did it at Supreme Fight Open as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it makes me feel good to see it still out there. What I wish really took off was the dunk tank, which was another one of my. I'll pat myself on the back for the Ledgestone dunk tank, which I think I've seen you in there.
Yeah, and for charity, I'll sometimes oblige. But yeah, there's a couple of people. I mean, especially with all the drama this week, we could probably get a couple of people that want to get in that dunk tank and raise a few extra bucks. But it was awesome to see that. Who was all participating today? I think, did I see AB or no? Paul?
No,
Kenny? No,
it was Paul Macbeth.
Yep.
Ken Climo, Missy Gannon, and then the brothers Robinson.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like a good time. Was it filmed by anyone out there, or were they?
Jomez
nice.
Put it out, I believe.
Very cool. Even better.
Yeah.
Yeah. To have that cemented in YouTube history, the fact that these players got to go out and do that is awesome to see.
Yeah, and it was a fun vibe. Like you could just go watch and hang out. You didn't have to buy tickets. They were doing trivia questions to keep things light. It was good. It was a good time for the holes that I hung out.
Yeah.
Before the rain came.
Awesome. Any other new initiatives, things going on here with the Climo brand that everybody should be up to speed on? I saw in for instance, I saw in a newsletter recently that for the first time people could buy some misprints and double stamps and things of that nature. But what else you got going on?
Yeah, so we finally got custom stamping going. So we've been working with a lot of clubs and events to do custom stamping. We've got a really cool, if you will, I'm not paying you for this. It's not a hashtag ad, but we'll give something away to the Smashies.
Okay. Well, we can be bribed for our Smashies.
So this has kind of been in the back of the mind for a while when, since I came on to work with Climo Disc Golf, it's, this question has just been looming overhead is what and how are we going to do with the Iron Leaf?
Okay. An instant classic within the disc golf history books.
Which, before I get too far, I mean, was that one of the earliest viral? Would you consider that a viral?
If we're scaling to today's standards, then yes, absolutely. Greg Barsby, doing his impression of Ken Climo, which I believe was Murder Mike. As Michael Castillo, Murder Mike, though, ultimately filming it, getting a ton of impressions. He was always going after Murder Mike's channel, was always going after all these funny, obscure things and mixing together highlight shots along with music. And he didn't care about the copyright. And he wasn't worried about monetizing. He wasn't worried about getting shot-by-shot coverage. He was just doing all sorts of crazy stuff and using more editorial creativity and captured, one of the funniest overall skits or performances ever in disc golf.
I feel like I talked to Greg recently about Iron Leaf, but didn't get into the origins. I wish I would have. But I think Greg I feel like he just spit all that out.
Oh yeah,
like on the fly.
Yeah.
He just rapping on the story and putting his own twist on it.
Yep.
It just is perfection. It was a great story from Ken. I can hear Ken telling it. I could see him telling it, but then to have Barsby,
his version of it.
His version of it is it's perfect. And so, that's how to treat something like so huge and so big that everybody is it's beloved. Within the disc golf world. And so what I came up with was, all right, I don't think we want to name a disc the Iron Leaf.
Okay.
There's been events, there's been stamps. So I said, all right, let's call up Skeet, scientist Skeet.
Yep, Scienski. Yep.
One of the great disc golf artists. Long time. He does a lot with the championship USD, and he's does a lot of great disc golf art. Called up Skeet and said, "Hey, I want to do an Iron Leaf triple foil. I think you're the person for it." And kind of gave parameters. And he was super hyped, and so we created an Iron Leaf triple foil, and then also an Iron Leaf single foil. So
wow, okay.
A lot of words later, we're going to honor the legend of the Iron Leaf in the form of a triple stamp. First one for Climo Disc Golf, and then got a test one too that we're putting up there. So this is the first time I think it's been seen, but
what SmashBoxx exclusive?
It's just a fun little It's hard to do.
I got it. Don't worry.
Drop the disc. Yeah. You got it.
So we've got a variety of molds with this fun little Iron Leaf triple foil.
Mm-hmm.
We just put out. If you're not following Climo Disc Golf on socials, head up to @Climo Disc Golf. We just put a cut up piece of the original reel. Before anyone asks, talked with Barsby, talked with Murder Mike. Everybody's is aware.
Yeah. Some
permissions given.
Yes, granted and locked in. I like that. Okay.
Yep. So we're gonna have a little triple foil Iron Leaf release here at DGLO.
Nice.
Those will be available online probably next week. Retailers will also get them, but this next one I'm super stoked about, and so I feel feel bad about this one, just because when Ken got it, he was so happy and so excited, and I feel bad that it took this long, but Ken Climo, he's known as a baseline plastic mid-range thrower. He was a rock thrower.
Yeah, which to be fair, we didn't use the words baseline. It literally was the only plastic for decades. Like when Johnny V started playing disc golf, it wasn't, this is an X line or a champ or a CE or a pro this, or there was literally one Frisbee plastic. And a slight variance from Innova to Discraft, but essentially there was just one type of plastic. It wasn't until many years later before they had 2 or 3 or 5 different types.
Or today, like everybody throws premium plastic.
Sure.
Yeah. Almost everybody, I would say.
Sure.
Can you think of any pros that have like a baseline mid? Maybe a Cenis or 2, but that's kind of more of on the putt approach side.
Yeah, I mean, everybody loves the durability, but I feel like you lose out on a little bit of the character that can come with them. I mean, there's nothing better than a beat-in rock or a beat-in buzz or whatever, some of those baseline plastic. And I guess that's the big advantage, is this better plastic, so to speak, maintains its integrity longer, but for sometimes you want something a little bit beat up.
Yeah. So Ken, his whole career, he's throwing those bait. And so finally got got him his baseline mid range, and so
Nice.
we did a test batch of our base plastic is called Trophy Line. So we did a glow Trophy Line, just a test batch of it, and converted the triple foil into. If you want to hold that up for me, gorgeous. I know
it is.
So that is Trophy Line Bel Air in a test batch of glow. So
Wow.
it is getting to be, I don't know if you know this, but it's starting to get darker earlier. Glow season's coming. So yeah, we're testing out how the glow additives work with the Climo disc golf plastics. And so this is what we've got here. But I'm telling you, when I handed him that disc, then he threw it, he was so happy.
Just grinning.
He's so
from
happy.
ear to ear. Like, I can see it.
I feel bad he's been stuck with these overstable premium plastic versions.
Sure.
This already is much straighter, and then you start getting a few rocks and trees and whatnot, and it's going to be in real buttery real quick. So I'm really excited about this. I'm maybe not as excited as Ken, but I'm really excited, to get some glow plastic and get some more variety out there.
Yeah. I mean, it checks the boxes, Johnny. I know you're not here, but like, feels good in the hand. Probably will hold any line that I put it on.
Oh, say it all.
I mean, you got to get them all in there. It's good for amateurs, pros, beginners. Advanced level players. Longtime players, newer players. Like, it's kids, kids, women up slow arm speeds. Super fast throwers. It really doesn't matter. I mean, this disc is really meant for everyone. And then when it's glow, we're not leaving anyone out at that point. I mean, it's going to be 12, 14 hours of darkness over there in some of our European, Nordic countries. So they should be out there with one of these. And then, you can even throw it in the daytime. Like, this really checks all the boxes.
Yeah.
As a daytime thrower.
Yeah.
And nighttime.
Wow.
I mean,
do you want a job
today? We got to see what we can do to get you into one of these today.
Yeah.
No, it does. Again, I know you just set that up with Kenny, but I'm similar. I do not throw any mid whatsoever of any Champion, Z, Titanium, X. Those just don't feel the same as like a baseline style plastic.
Yeah.
When it comes to mid ranges, and everybody's different. I know the game's evolving, but this feels phenomenal to me. Like, nothing for nothing. As beautiful as this isn't something that feels good to me for this style of shot.
Wasn't the comet? Terry, wasn't the comet you were throwing this weekend? Wasn't that is that an X?
That was a really old, tacky X line.
Okay.
So yeah, it wasn't quite baseline. But it definitely doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like
modern.
That you pick up off the shelf today, and that's partly why I grabbed it and went out and played with it. Of that, that texture and how that feels. So that's me for mid ranges. I'm a little more variety when it comes to drivers, but that mid range feels great. The question is, does it glow nearly as well as all this mega glow that we've been seeing running around? Is it in that category? Not quite.
It's not in the mega glow. So
not mega glow, just regular glow.
And so the Climo brand, so we actually worked with Jonathan Poole at USDGC to sponsor the event. And we produced for a partner. They released them to their partners first, and then I think they're available on DGU if they're not sold out yet. Okay. We made a premium plastic Bel Air, so our Victory line in the Mega Glow.
Oh, wow.
But what we're calling the Climo version of Mega Glow, 5X Glow. Yeah. Got 5X the glow.
Ooh.
We're really pumping the glow material. But with it being the first use for that, being the USDGC, where Ken's the 5-time winner, it made a lot of sense. So I think for the Climo brand, this fall, you'll see some 5X glow, and you'll also see some of the more standard glow, something that isn't toxic, because all the brands, the glow now is insane.
Yeah, it's what it's doing, and I just want to quickly touch on, because this is the first time I've really heard what you just said. Kudos, like straight up kudos to Innova, to Jonathan Poole, to the Climo brand, as well as Discraft, who's manufacturing. Like, to have this collaboration, and then to see some of these discs offered on a Disc Golf United, which is obviously an Innova backed and branded website, but then to have pay this respect and opportunity to Kenny, like. Johnny and I are old enough, you're old enough to know, like, we would have never envisioned this type of collaboration, and collaboration is probably the best word. We would have never envisioned it to happen, to unfold, and to be there now is inspiring. Everybody wants a piece of the disc golf pie, understandably. Some have larger pieces than others already, but to see this type of cooperation and collaboration, I think is great.
Yeah, I mean, I love Jonathan Poole. He's been a hero. Someone I've always looked up to, and he's a longtime tournament director of the United States Disc Golf Championship, and they've JP and Bob Julio at Discraft have been working together, I think, for a few years with Discraft sponsoring the event and having a presence there, and so. Yeah, when the opportunity came for Climo brand, I said yes. Would love to support and further what's going on at Winthrop in October with the championship, Pro Pink, and ultimately to support JP and disc golf.
Yeah, it's something we would have never predicted or thought might happen, maybe even as recently as 10 years ago. Yeah. So to see where it's at,
I feel great. I can remember. As a player, getting a player pack and getting a non-Innova disc, and it was a
legacy disc.
And so that was kind of I feel like that was the first. Legacy kind of knocked Stevie, and Legacy knocked that, and JP worked something out, and that was awesome. And then I'm excited to see that there's other brands that are supporting the championship. It's one of the pinnacle events in disc golf.
Yeah, and of course the final remaining major on the MPO side, and kind of how we always cap off the season, so to speak, right before we'll get to that tour championship. Awesome. What else was? And then this is is this just a quote unquote stock run or stock stamp?
That's the first run.
Oh, okay.
Version of the streak that we're giving away tomorrow. So we're selling. I'd love to.
Giving away for the right price.
I would love to. I'd love to give something away. So if you and Johnny have a Smashy you want to give me an address to, or some sort of, I don't know.
Sweet. Yeah.
Give me Johnny's address. I don't.
No. We'll get you right to some winner that we pull. We'll get you right to it. Have it go straight out.
Do a couple winners. We'll do an iron leaf. We'll do something iron leaf, cool. And then we'll do a first run streak.
Well, thank you, and.
Now I don't feel so bad about the free ads now.
I mean, this feels good in the hand, and I mean, come on, that's what everyone has to say, right? And here we're looking at what 7501.
Yep,
are those the numbers we're seeing?
Yep, 7501, and this has been so when we talk about discs and molds for the Climo disc golf, and how quickly it happens. The streak was one where once we got that first version, knew immediately that like there's no all right, let's get it straighter, let's move the nose, do this or do all the little things that you can do to create drag or all these other technical terms that Ken got it, loved it. They tested it in the warehouse at up here in Michigan. Everybody loved it. I got one. Like, this is a really good flyer. Let's do it. We got the protos out. The protos sold out, so we jumped to the first runs really quickly. And I gotta say, I think a lot. I'm really stoked at the name.
The streak, yeah, and obviously Kenny very proud of. Well, he's probably got countless streaks, but is this paying homage to any one particular streak?
This pays homage to the 1990 through 1998 World Championship streak.
Okay.
So
again, the fact is, you could pick a lot of different records and such that he set. That's why I have to ask. That would be my first assumption.
Yeah,
but okay.
Which, all right, how about this for the giveaway? What first giveaway? What year was the streak broken, and who broke it, and what was their PDGA number?
This is also easy. So if you're at all a fan of disc golf, especially an old school one, the first people in the comments to give us that one. This isn't a Smash exclusive, but whoever puts it in the comments first, we need to know what year was the streak broken, who broke it, and what their PDGA number was. There's definitely a little bit of a theme here within this question. And so we've got, we'll wait for a couple people to get some submissions in there. Carney's suggesting 2012 and that Gannon Burr broke it. No, I'm not sure. Gannon wasn't alive, actually, when the streak was broken, which feels really funny to actually utter that phrase. But Gannon wasn't even close to alive, like at that point, which is pretty funny. So we'll see if somebody can ultimately get it all answered. Earl looks like he's closest to completing it. So if somebody's on the cusp of getting it, that's what we'll be able to reward you with, is one of these brand new streaks. So
one of the other streaks that Climo has, obviously, is the cash streak. We were looking that up this weekend on the way back from Lac de Flambeau. Who has the longest cash streak? Right now, it's Calvin at like 76 events or something along those lines. Kenny was in the 300 events? 200, 290 or something like that? His cash streak went like 15 years. I'd have to look up again because we were breezing through some of that. It was unreal because we were thinking about Kale, who won this weekend, and like, oh wow, is he starting up another cash streak? And then I looked at it and I was like, no one's ever going to touch Kenny's cash streak. No one. Like, I don't think that may ever be broken.
Now, Kale did just break one of Kenny's like a really impressive.
Yeah, I believe Kale had 20 consecutive years of winning an A tier or better, but of winning an A tier in the MPO division. And that's obviously very impressive. To be fair, there's a million more A tiers to try and capture these days, but nonetheless, no one's going to take anything away from Dr. Smooth and what he's doing out there. But yeah, and that always goes back to the conversations of, Kenny's amount of majors, Macbeth, sitting one behind him, and Macbeth, for decades, there was literally one major a year. And now, which was the World Championships. And now we're seeing on the regular 4, for the last few years. And even after that, even after, Kenny had backed off from the sport, there, wasn't 2 or 3 or 4, every single year. We all know if there were 3 or 4 majors a year during that span, Kenny would have probably got 90+% of those, and his major streak or his major count would be probably 35 to 45 or whatever, instead of 18, that he's got now. So I don't know. It's different times, and that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, very impressive. So
yeah, I don't. Johnny, any other streaks, Climo streaks? Harry?
I was going to say, it's not so much a streak, but it was right when I was specifically a streak. But when I came in to the sport and I got one of my first ever disc golf journals or disc golfer, disc golf world magazines or whatever it was, and Kenny came to our hometown, Johnny and I's hometown, 1995. He came to the Fox Valley Open, and he had, in 1995, I think specifically, he won 23 out of 25 events he played in. and most of those being the A tiers that were offered and everything else. And now remember too, a lot of those events were 4 rounds over 2 days. You played 2 rounds on Saturday, 2 rounds on Sunday. That wasn't, back in the day of a 1-round C tier or any flex starts. None of that existed. There was no such thing as a 1-round tournament. In fact, you would play a 4-round tournament. You'd play your brains out, and then Kenny would win, $307 because he beat everyone that was there. But there was also only a $32 entry fee or whatever it was. And so he would, get all the winnings, but the winnings weren't nearly as impressive. So, by today's standard. But yeah, I think he won like 23 out of 25 or 22 out of 24. I think, Johnny, if you can pull it up, I don't know, I can Google it quick, but I think 1995 was one of the most insane seasons that was ever out there as well.
He was 26, and that was the year he was inducted in the Hall of Fame, too.
Okay.
As a 26-year-old.
As a 26-year-old. And obviously we've seen even some of those requirements and or eligibility change. But it was, no matter what year you put him in, it was obviously deserving as he was going on to do that. So pretty crazy to see it. So, yeah, Climo. I mean, I had Steady Ed Hedrick and Ken Climo at like one of the first tournaments I ever went to. And like, what are the odds of that? Both in Wisconsin. They've only both been in Wisconsin each probably 5 or less times. And it happened to be in my backyard, minutes from my house at one of the first tournaments I ever played. Not that I knew of their significance. I was also pre-internet, so I didn't quite know of their significance. I didn't understand the gravity of it at the time, but a couple years later already, I certainly did. Like the father of disc golf and the greatest ever.
Then here, looking back 30 years later.
Yeah.
30 years.
Yeah, it's
that's pretty cool.
It is. It certainly is. So very, very blessed in our Wisconsin disc golf.
Did you say very blessed?
Yes, we were also very Schultz blessed, and then some. Unless he was whooping you every weekend, which was also a standard there as well. So, anything else we need to know, Dana, before I cut you loose? I know you got some stuff going on this weekend.
Just we'll be hanging out here at DGLO. If you guys are around, he's heading home Saturday. So if you come Saturday afternoon, hoping to see him, it's not going to happen.
Okay.
So just could get him in for this early part of the week, and then I've got a busy day with him tomorrow running around. Also, we got this streak going on sale.
Yeah. Okay.
Things are going good, and we're cooking on other stuff too, as always.
And final question. Of course, we want you here if you're in the Michigan area. Come to the event. Come see Kenny and everything else. But would I assume the next and maybe even the last Kenny sighting will be at USDGC? Is that kind of in? Yeah, that's probably locked in or hoping to lock it. He'll probably be there for a few days.
That's my understanding. He'll be at USDGC as well.
Sure. So
that's a little over a month away.
Yeah, and then things might get a little quiet for a little while. So if you want to see Kenny in person, make sure you come take a chance. I know he still has a younger daughter that he's obviously very actively involved with and whatnot. He's a busy man with all the stuff he's got going on. So when he's on site and is around, take advantage of it.
And come say hi. You don't need to buy anything. Bring an old disc to sign. Share an old memory, because odds are, like we said earlier, he might remember you or that memory. But just come say hi. It's been, in conclusion, we're speaking for Kenny. He's having a blast. I'm having fun. It's been a great year for Climo disc golf, and hopefully just the start of what's to come. But for this week, let's cross the fingers that the weather stays nice. Doesn't I don't want you getting sick out there, Terry. Otherwise, at Climo Disc Golf, if you're not following us on the socials, please do. Unless you don't want to hear from me, I'm on there probably too much. But Johnny, really nice to see you. And you said something earlier. You said a name earlier that I wanted to interject, but I hadn't been introduced, and I feel bad if I didn't say anything. Jonathan Borzen from Illinois. You mentioned him. That dude's having a heck of a year. He's just gotten his rating over 1020. I think he's won maybe 3 A tiers this summer. Which he's not on the Pro Tour, but he did play Ledgestone.
Yeah.
I think he performed really well at Ledgestone as well. So I don't know I don't know if he's ultimately got aspirations to be on the Pro Tour, or if he wants to continue to go out and grind and grow and get the experience. But what he's doing, if he is going to the Pro Tour, is he's going out off tour, learning how to win.
Yeah.
Which so many players just jump right up to the Pro Tour and don't catch that experience, and then all of a sudden you're lost. Your game could get lost in the mix. But I just wanted to give, since he's an Illinois guy and he's a super good dude and been playing really well. Wanted to highlight him, and
I can echo that. He's played in the Cold Turkey. I think he's won it. I know he's been on coverage on the Disc Golf Guide channel, and he's we'll go down to Florida, play Throwdown the Mountain. I know this last year had a good performance there, and travels around with his dad, and super good people. So I'll echo everything you're saying as well. I've seen his name plenty of times to know exactly what he's up to. So awesome to see out there.
Smashies, thanks for letting me talk. Thanks for the ads. Make sure we get another winner for the Iron Leaf stuff. You guys get me an address. We will ship that out.
We'll make it work. All right, everyone. Boom goes the dynamite. He's out. Thanks for joining, pal. We'll see you out there tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Steve.
All righty. Dynamite, Dana, Vicich. Some good stuff. I love that when we're here, when I'm on site, there's so many opportunities. Believe it or not actually planned initially to have Dana tonight. We're out at the course today and said, hey, works out that he's staying in the hotel, really just pretty much across the street. So good to have him over and even learn more about what's going on with the entire Climo line. So everybody's busy doing stuff this weekend. I think of this event, it's a 4-round event. I think about, what we just saw at Ledgestone, how we're going to have, Falls Fest or Fall Fest and GMC and the madness that's going to take place for that Elite Plus event. Maple Hill is always this massive party and celebration of everything disc golf. So super good way to be closing out our season. And believe it or not, it's right around the corner. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, it really feels like it took a while for us to get the season started. The first few weeks went fast, and then suddenly we're at the last few weeks. And I don't know where the middle of the season went. So it's these seasons always do. But I mean, at our age, years feel like weeks, and it's kind of crazy.
Where's the time gone? Anyway, I don't know that there's that much more. I mean, for 2 seconds.
Well, I was going to say, let's talk about a little bit about the Pro Tour news from last week before we kind of get into any after show or anything. Last week, there were 2 real big announcements from the Disc Golf Pro Tour. The first was, they were very related. The first was the tour schedule. And we're seeing a few new events, one of which was mentioned that we knew about, and that was the Big Easy Open. That is down at Jefferson Parish, Louisiana. You had a video with Matty O about that, which was great. And then a couple small surprises, I would say. The Queen City Classic, no one had really thought about. So we're going back to Charlotte early in the season to do that. Waco is now off the tour, and we'll talk about that with the Jomez Tour. Jonesboro back on the tour. We're going back to KC Wide Open. The Open at Austin is now in May versus March that we've seen it in the past. So weather probably going to be a little bit warmer in Texas in May.
No.
Not quite sweltering, but I don't want to be the on-course guy for that one. Then we go over to the West Coast swing where we got OTB, Northwest Championship. Everyone goes over to Europe for a few weeks for a much more condensed European swing. We've got basically 1 month of European events, and that's the European Major, as they're calling it, over in Tallinn. The Swedish Open, the Ale Open, and the Hanola Open. So you've got those four, and then we come back here for U.S. Women's, Ledgestone, Discmania over in Iowa, Preserve, Pro Worlds, LWS, GMC, MVP, Throw Pink, USDGC, then the championship. So, yeah, that's kind of the that's the tour. So a little bit of early shakeup in the tour, very similar to what we see closing out.
Yeah, I was going to say everything from essentially late August on is very I don't want to say standard, but it is almost expected and or is quote unquote traditional or pretty close to it. You know, we're basically 1 week off in terms of the timing of having DGLO this week versus next year it'll be a week earlier and it'll be Worlds, but we're in the same spot. It's really just flip-flopping spots with Idlewild next year. Idlewild will be on Labor Day. As just an interesting side note is that we'll have Labor Day golf. And that's something that, has been on and off the tour in terms of a philosophy, so to speak, is to have a disc golf tournament on that particular weekend. And this, like we just said, this weekend we didn't. So that's a minor change, or for some it'll be a little bit more major, but that's a change. But then as we close out, like you said, Green Mountain MVP by OTB, Throw Pink, USDGC, and Pro Tour Championships. Those are all standards, but yeah, a little bit of a shift and a shakeup with some of the earlier stuff. And unless you were in the know, you're exactly right. The idea of seeing Queen City Classic pop up as an event was not really anything anyone else probably would have guessed. No one was like, "Hey, I think early season we'll go to Charlotte." Like, unless you somehow were, like I said, inside the inner circle, you didn't see that. You didn't have that on your bingo card, I think is what they would say. And same with the one over in the Big Easy Open. Obviously, they've been both very, very well received. People are very excited about them. They seem like they're two very fitting and perfect places to have the events. I don't think there's any second guessing there. I think one of the only challenges with the later with the major with the U.S. Women's is the fact that it's relatively close to the Hanola Open, and they already have like a little double asterisk there saying that the Hanola Open, I believe the FPO points won't count from that event because they don't essentially want to hinder women that want to play in it or maybe want to skip it to come back and get prepared for their major. And I really like that call that they said, hey, we're not going to have its full point value or maybe any points actually offered for FPO. And then that doesn't really put as much pressure on the FPO field. You're like, well, I want to be there. I want to play in that, but I also got to prep for the major. That's one way to help relieve some of that pressure. So I thought that was a really good compromise. And then there's nothing else that's crazy. Again, a little bit of shifting. Discmania challenges at a slightly later time, preserves at a much later time. We've seen that as early as June. This last year, was it June or July? And so to see it in mid-August is different, but it isn't really impactful in my opinion. Obviously, it works for the local crew and it works for the overall schedule. So I don't have a lot to say on it. I mean, to me, the things that stick out are the fact that, this weekend we're essentially playing a little bit of a Worlds warm-up and getting ready for what we'll see next year at the Worlds in terms of the courses out here at the Toboggan. And we're not playing Black Locust, I realize, but there was some conversation about that. And then next year we're at the Northwest Championships, which is then going to be the host of the 2027 World Championships. So, there's nothing that's, I'll say, crazy to me. No matter what you have for events at some time, there's either going to be sometimes a little bit of an awkward drive.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it seems like the timing and the spacing has worked out pretty well. There's not a lot of zigzagging. Sometimes you just simply can't avoid zigzagging a little.
Usually with the majors, when you throw those majors in there, because they're bid on a few years ahead of time, and they're awarded. You just can't always help if there's going to be that one weekend where you have 4 days to make a 14-hour trip, and that's life. That's the way it's going to be this year. Thankfully this year we don't have that, but there are obviously years where you just can't help it, and it sucks, but that's unfortunately the way our tour is. Some events just can't shift.
Yeah. So overall, and I think the other note that was made that for anyone that doesn't know or already realize, even though we talked to Paul a little bit about it today during the press conference, is yes, we're in Bedford County / Lynchburg twice next year. However, when we're there for the major, for the Champions Cup, that will not be the same course that they're going to play for the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships or finals, so to speak. So those will be different courses. And that has a very similar concept to when we had the Champions Cup a couple of years ago, last year maybe now, when it was played at Northwood. And then when they came back and they played the Ledgestone, they played Eureka exclusively. So I understand that you're not trying to double up on the courses.
I personally don't care if they double up on the courses, and I know maybe I'm in the
I
minority.
Wouldn't care either.
But some people get all up in arms and get their undies in a bundle about it. But if it's a good course that provides exciting golf, I don't care if we play the same course twice. Like it's inevitable. It's bound to happen every couple of years. It just, I honestly don't care, and I don't see why people care that much about it. But I know there are some people who do.
If they're good courses and they're generally liked by most of the players, I agree with you. I don't understand why it's so worked up. Assuming the courses are good that the players like, but nonetheless, they're going to be playing two different courses when they're in Lynchburg. I think it'll be interesting to see this. The new place for yet our major. I mean, there was so much conversation about trying to get back to the International Disc Golf Center, and here we are still, waiting on course design, logging, whatever. I don't even actually know where it's all at, but the fact that the pine beetle infestation was just so impactful, and then governmental agencies and everything else that goes along with it, and this is all ultimately a little bit of a result of that. So it is what it is, and that's where we're at. And I'll just give the very polite PSA that if there's something in that area, you got to have the courses, you got to have the organizing committee, you got to have the actual volunteers and support network. And then last but certainly not least, you got to have the money. And every time a schedule comes out, people say, "Oh, you're ignoring this section of the country. You're ignoring my state. You're ignoring my entire region. F off." Well, somebody in your area has to put in a bid. It starts there, and then we have to decide if that's a qualified bid by all those other things that I just mentioned. So just keep that in mind. At no point is the PDGA or the Disc Golf Pro Tour saying, yeah, I hate that state. We're not going there. Like, if there's a qualified bid that checks all the boxes, it's being considered. It may not be there the first year that they've even, put in the bid or tried to have an event, but it's getting looked at. And I think just so many people don't realize there's not events in certain areas because no one even put in a bid to host one.
And to me,
that's
I look at the schedule, and the only area that I see that's quote unquote kind of being left out is the Southwest. Like, there's nothing really in Arizona, Southern California, Nevada, like on the tour. And that is like kind of, that's the general area. We've got stuff in the Northwest, and I know some people would like other areas in the Northwest, but we do have that covered at the end of the season. We got the Northeast. We got the Southeast in the early season. You've got the Midwest in Minnesota and Iowa. We've got kind of the Ohio region taken care of. We got, we have the Northwest. It feels like the
really
Southwest.
Like it's the mountainous area. It's the Rockies. It's Colorado. Yeah. It's Montana. It's Nevada.
There's like 3 courses in Montana.
it's that mountain range, elevation section that a lot of people have said has been ignored, or there's not events there. Mm-hmm. And they're not wrong. There hasn't been. I mean, we've had the match play, and at one point we had the 303 Open, which I believe was a Q series or a Silver series or some other series that we're making up tomorrow. But so it's not an incorrect statement to say it hasn't been there. But again, it always goes back to checking all those other boxes. It's so much more than, well, I just really want it here. There's so much more to it.
You know what's going to make up for that, Terry? The new the Jomez Tour. Sorry. Mixed that one up a little bit. The new Jomez Tour that was announced is the Jomez Pro Series, a new event class on the Disc Golf Pro Tour is the tagline. Next year, they're going to pilot a 3-event Jomez Tour, as they call it. And it's basically a post-production tour of a couple A tiers. So what the Pro Tour is going to be doing is, I mean, no surprise, starting to fill in some of the off weeks with post-production events. So next year, you're going to see Waco, which, as we saw, was off the tour this year. That is going to be on the Jomez Pro Tour. You've got the Cascade Challenge and Champions Landing over in Emporia. Now, these are events that you can buy tickets to. So if you feel like your area is not represented, you're not seeing the pros come, we might see some pros go to these events. It's hard to say. I think a lot of it depends on the added money. These are the type of events I think you're going to see some of the players, like the CCR this weekend. I think that's the type of turnout you're going to see at most of these Jomez Pro Series, unless the money is outrageous. And it's not going to shock me if in the future we see this expand. I think the Pro Tours, and I'm not involved in any of the talks, but it really does feel like they see that there is opportunity in off weeks for a smaller production. The like I said, the go throw stuff that was going on. Sometimes like an A tier that you will cover, or that CCDG may cover once in a great while. I think they see that as an opportunity to continue to keep people tuned into the Disc Golf Pro Tour, either via YouTube, Jomez, however that is. These will not be live. Let me be clear. These will not be live. And I have a feeling you're going to see them expand to a lot of our bigger A tiers in the future. But that's just a guess. At this point, it's a three tour stuff.
I mean, it's not even a guess. It's exactly the plan. And I was able to listen. Rarely do I have the time or capabilities of listening to other podcasts, but Jonathan was on the All Birdies No Bogeys podcast along with Brian and Perkins. And they said that, it's these 3 events for next year. All 3 of these events are A tiers in terms of PDGA sanctioning. And there's a chance that some more get added to the list, but he's also was just stating that that they want to kind of do it methodically, and that they certainly don't want to overpromise and then underdeliver. They don't want to stretch themselves too thin about sending camera operators and having all these other people. Obviously, they have a between them and the rest of the Pro Tour staff, there is a larger depth of camera operators overall that could possibly be in this rotation or this mix. But right now, they've committed to these 3 events, and they certainly have their eyes on the idea of then looking into other events, whether it be throughout the year or even expanding their year to possibly have something that's quote unquote preseason of the Pro Tour, or as you would say, even after the Pro Tour has kind of finished up for the season. So, per his explanation in Jonathan's, it's exactly what you said. Looking to fill in other weekends with other events, some of which we may or may not ever see on the Pro Tour again, or there may be even some kind of don't want to say a building block or a farming system of yeah, hey, let's go, cover this event, and then maybe they use some of that recon to report back and say, yeah, this event's on the right track to potentially become a pro tour event. I mean, it doesn't feel that much different than thinking about me being at Smuggler's Notch in 2013 or 2014, a year or two before it was on the pro tour. Obviously, you and I attempted live, and I did post-production at Ledgestone years before the pro tour existed. There's a number of those events that have throw down the mountain. I had covered 6, 8, 10 times, whatever the case was, and eventually it essentially got rebranded in so many words to Supreme Flight in some ways, and then got onto the pro tour. I mean, this is not necessarily anything new. You certainly get, though, and hence the joke or the reference to Go Throw, Joe Throw, whatever. You get the reference of like, did they see and feel like, hey, Go Throw is having some success with filling in these weekends, and we want to go out and chase some of that similar success, because obviously Go Throw is now 5, 6, 8 events deep in this year, and came out and very much said, hey, we're not competing with anything on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. We're looking for really cool places to have post-production events and to do extra stuff. Nothing for nothing. That's feels like almost exactly what the Jomez series is also doing. And there's plenty of events in disc golf to go out and cover. So it's not like the idea is unique or original by any means, because there's been post-production now for more than a decade. It's just a matter of how is it branded, and then how will it be perceived. It'll be interesting to. I assume it's going to be a big hit for wherever they go and whatever they're covering. So it'll just be a matter of probably how many events is that really going to ultimately be, and therefore how impactful will it be, and will it mean anything else? I don't know.
No, and I know they did talk about having other voices behind the mics for these events, not having your standard Ulibarri and Coling and Sexton, that they're going to try out other people, and probably for FPO as well, not having the Two Hot Geese. It will be interesting to hear some other people maybe get a chance to do their own commentary that maybe have wanted to, and there's just not enough. There's not a lot of space on the Pro Tour anymore for that stuff. It's not back in the day when you would have 2 or 3 different entities covering cards. Those days are gone. This makes a lot of sense in the fact that I know from a camera op perspective, you get done in October, and at that point, maybe you're covering one event in the off season somewhere, and there's always been some question about the Pro Tour with the Pro Tour as to, am I getting furloughed for 2 to 3 to 4 months? The Pro Tour clearly doesn't want to pay anybody when they're not doing work. So will this give opportunity for the Pro Tour to earn some money in some of these warmer places where maybe the camera ops reside anyway, to fill in some of these off seasons, to give these guys a more secure year-round position, or not? Or are they just going to start to fill in off weekends of the Pro Tour? Like, again, a CCR. It wouldn't shock me if in 2 years something like that is seen on the Jomez, because you have these camera ops that have quote-unquote off weeks. They're between 2 places, much like the players. And as much as I'm never pushing our camera ops to do more work, because they bust their ass every single week doing more work than probably anyone has any realization for. But there's a lot of questions there. And I mean, you've got editors, you've got graphics people that there's downtime for some of them.
Yeah, and that's going to probably mean a little bit of something different to everyone. And when you think right now, there's some full-time employees, of course, of the Disc Golf Network. There's full-time employees of Jomez, and there's also, for both of those entities, there's plenty of contractors. Someone like myself, I am not a W-2'd full-time employee of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, for instance. I'm a contractor, and so camera operators and some of those other people all have different contracts and have, we'll say, different expectations, and that comes probably with different needs as to the kind of workload they're looking for. So I'm obviously sure they've got thought of all this, and they will have it likely all figured out moving forward. It'll be interesting to see if this stretch is something that's fully sustainable. I assume they're going to get it all figured out, but like you were just saying, the weeks are long, the weeks are long, and who knows? Who knows? This gives maybe new camera operators opportunities to, break into the scene or the market, or maybe they try to rely on more regional people to fill in some of these, these needs and whatnot. I'm very blessed that I excited to be a contractor to the Disc Golf Pro Tour and work the positions that I work in the live realm. And then almost every weekend I'm not live, I'm turning around and putting on my own hat of post-production within, the Disc Golf Guy post-production channel. So I know how I do things, but I am in no way even remotely set up in a similar fashion to, the massive machine that is the Jomez crew of, 10 plus employees and additional contractors. So, they'll figure it out, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I'm not concerned about that. So,
yeah.
Other than that, I don't know if there was a lot of other news that was going on. I checked the PDGA site; they didn't really have anything. There was one controversy this weekend. We don't have Dana here anymore. I don't know if he'd have any input.
Yeah.
It's the AI stuff again. The AI artwork. The Discraft put out a Labor Day stamp with what appeared to be someone like Rosie the Riveter holding up a disc, and there were some, I don't want to say pretty obvious, but there were some signs that very well could have been done or enhanced or something with AI. It looked as if the woman had 5 fingers on reaching over her arm versus like, so it would be 6 fingers including the thumb. And the disc that she was holding was really kind of generic, we'll say. And Discraft made a statement. Bob Giulio made a statement, I think it was yesterday, more or less saying, hey, I'm not that familiar with this AI stuff. I'm going to try to educate myself. We're going to talk to the artists. They employ a bunch of artists at Discraft, and they have contractors that they work with as well. And maybe this just, kind of slipped through the cracks, so to speak, which is a plausible thing when you are probably approving a bunch of different artwork every single day, that maybe you don't necessarily spot some of the obvious things. You take a generic look at it. That would not shock me at all. But more or less, Bob came out and just said that they're going to do a little bit more research and kind of get a general idea. And I'm going to go on a limb and say, personally, I don't care about AI artwork in general, for or against. I kind of have the feeling of you're either going to get on the boat or you're going to be left behind. And it's going to get better where no one's going to be able to notice it in the future. There's so many, and you can't avoid it in a lot of these art programs that you have. They just have it built in. Open up any Photoshop, and I can use AI to remove or add anything I want in there. Google just released a new tool today, or yesterday, maybe it was, that is phenomenal. You can just show it 6 different pictures and say, merge these and do this, and it looks like a new photograph. It is only getting better and better. And I think that there's no way around using it. The question is, are you using it, quote unquote, responsibly? Does it look dumb is going to be the big problem. If you're using it lazily, yeah, you're probably going to get caught with some of that crap. But it's going to be used. So.
Yeah, to be fair, you and I probably are a little more less worked up or impacted by this because you and I are also not creative people that you nor I would, let's put it this way, you nor I would never in a million years be contracted to make a stamp for someone.
Never.
Like there's just, in no world would that ever happen. So I can understand artists being a little bit frustrated. There, of course, is some irony in the fact that it, specifically Rosie the Riveter and it's Labor Day. And I that none of that irony is lost on me of then this happening in that situation. I've contracted dozens, not probably hundreds, but dozens of various artists throughout the years in terms of needing stamps. And then I find some irony in myself. I will personally say this. I find irony that I have spent hundreds of dollars, some significant hundreds of dollars on stamps to have people do it. And then I've also literally taken clip art, like free clip art and the simplest stamp on the planet, and then get a ton of compliments on it years ago, like tons of compliments on this stamp that I actually did do. And it was literally clip art. I think just proving how subjective art is, right? And yeah, I don't know. I understand some of the frustrations, and I think Bob said it best when he said in multiple places that they hire and have a ton of graphic artists that they have I think he said 6 full-time and upwards of 12 contractors that they use. Is AI sometimes a way to either speed up a process or come up with ideas? I don't know. I wish we could pull the clip of me last week saying, holy shit, we don't need to lose our minds over some of this stuff. Like the fact that I saw some of the posts calling for a resignation or a firing of Bob Giulio. I mean, come on. I just think that's crazy. And that's not just because I personally like Bob. And I would say this of any company, regardless. That's a bit extreme, in my opinion. And that's just it. We all have our opinions. But I think it's absolutely wild that people think that he should get fired over this as the GM / team manager, whatever roles he's playing. I don't know.
This is a John specific editorial. This is not representative of Terry Miller at all.
Great. I'm real.
Oh, I'm going to stick my foot right in my mouth here. Every piece of art that you listen to these days on the radio is probably enhanced with some sort of computer, whether it's auto-tune. If you hear a violin in a song, there's a damn good chance that was just done with some computer program with Pro Tools, that they didn't hire a violinist, or they take guitar riffs from computers. It is everything we're doing these days is being created by computers. Or if you want to get really stupid and have a really stupid analogy, hot stamping is killing artists. Why don't we have 50 artists drawing on discs right now? They should just be lined up in Discraft's factory and say, no, we don't need that hot stamping machine. We're going to hire 50 people to draw on discs all day long. It's to me, it's technology. It's going to continue to get better. It's going to put people out of jobs. It's not going to kill creativity. You're not going to end creativity. What it does also, though, is what I don't think people realize is it opens up creativity for people like you and I, Terry. Because if I have a great idea, and maybe I don't have the funds to reach out to someone like a Tim Kortz on our board, who is a phenomenal artist, but I think, oh man, I'd really love some sort of line art drawing of a polar bear riding a unicorn on the moon with this cool sunset, an astronaut floating in the background. I'm going to be able to do that in the future. I'm going to be able to just lay it out exactly. Oh, can you rotate that astronaut 12 degrees? Can you maybe just zoom out on the unicorn just a little bit? These are all things that I can't do right now. I can't. I do not have the skills with drawing or Photoshop, the talent. I'm a horrible artist. Horrible. But these are things
Well,
that
and that's, I think, part of the
open
crux
up.
of the argument, right?
Yeah, but
isn't that's part of the crux is that, they would say is, well, you should be hiring someone to do that. So
Okay.
a real artist is out of that possible commissioned work. And I can understand that argument, but like you're saying, I'll go as far as saying, the disc that Dana just had moments ago, and something that also is new is I'm seeing the weights laser written onto the Climo line and the Discraft disc. You know what used to never happen? For decades, they were handwritten. Like with a pen, they were handwritten specifically onto Discraft disc. And then at one point, for decades, they put stickers on with a little range saying 173 to 160 grams. They're doing that on plenty of discs, excuse me. And now I just saw moments ago on the disc he had here, they're laser put on there. Guess what? A machine is grabbing those, putting them on a scale, and is then etching the weight on it.
Putting people out of business, man. Yeah. Someone used to write that stuff. And should we talk about being again? What if I'm a person who, again, not only just isn't capable of doing that sort of art, but just flat out disabled? Like in general, I am personally using AI for a lot of stuff to help with my daughter who has challenges, but we're talking about a tool that in the future will be able to help people who maybe don't have great control of their motor functions to do these types of artwork, to open up this type of freedom for them. So it isn't just a putting artists out of business type of thing. In the future, we're talking these things, again, are only going to get better. And of course, I want to see really cool, unique art done by artists. And I think that's never going away, because a lot of what you get out of the AI and computers it's much more derivative of previous artwork in different styles and things. And there'll always be somebody that'll come up with something new, whether it's, you want to look at the Cubist style from the early 1900s or Impressionistic. Like these are all revolutionary styles of art. We're getting that again. And what's going to happen is those type of things are going to be more valuable. Someone's going to look at that and go, wow, I know a computer didn't do that. Or you're going to sit and watch someone on YouTube draw. There's already that type of channel where you can just sit and watch someone do art, and you know that is a valuable skill that not everybody can do. And in fact, it's going to be even less and less so as these tools get easier. How many people can paint a picture? A good, like, well, I'll say Mona Lisa style paint job right now. I love Tim Courts in our chat board, but guess what? If he makes a mistake, he hits Control Z. Oh, we'll try that again. Guess what I don't have if I have an easel and a thing? Like we are already making this easier for people, and it's just getting easier and easier and easier. And I just see these tools as being very useful. And again, I don't want to see people get put out of jobs, and I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, because I think there is a value in uniqueness. And that's something right now that AI can't give you as easily as an artist. But it's just, I get so upset listening to all these people online and just the bad takes that they have. Like there's room for everything out there. There really is.
Well, if anyone wants to support raw, dirty, just blood, sweat, and tears art, support my editing via Patreon, because I don't use any of the fancy shit. You know what? Jomez, they hit a button and like all these graphics are just magically made. I ain't smart enough for any of that. Like my birdie graphic, like that was made, but I have to manually insert that. There's a ton of manual stuff I'm still doing like an absolute idiot. So if you really support, this is where this all comes full circle. If you want to support idiots that don't know the right buttons to click, you should be supporting my editing, because mine is some of the most archaic editing compared to what some of the other. I mean, the other day somebody
Terry's actually splicing 8mm together. That's how old school he is. He's splicing he's got razor blades and he's cutting and just taping them together, and then
Still mean it. Yeah. I mean, the other day somebody took like a quadruple bogey. I don't have a graphic for that. You better believe I had to go in there, manually make a brand new graphic just for that one off. Like, I don't have fancy graphic packages that do all the smart things that much more proficient editors use. So if you like the down and dirty, that's where you can support me via Patreon. Be like, yeah, that idiot is probably awake right now editing something. I'll throw him an extra $1.
100%. Let me say this: I can call Terry anytime, anytime before like 2 a.m. and know that he's probably editing or doing something. So
something that's probably frustrating me because I haven't automated it or perfected it for sure. So. Tim says my puns are written by ChatGPT. No, those don't even go. Those I have to take all credit for. Good, bad, or indifferent. I have to take all the credit for them. All right, well, let's wrap this up. I get it. If you're mad, you can be mad. I mean, the amount of people that want to boycott, the company. All I'll say is some form of AI, some form of technology is going to continue to infiltrate every single manufacturer because that's the smart way that you grow. And you're going to be left with no Frisbees eventually. I mean, how many are you still mad at Trash Panda, who used to be like hand pressing a disc with his own weight, and now he's got an injection molding machine?
What a slacker!
Yeah. I mean, so anyway, enough of that. But I take it to wherever you will. If it outrages you, list it on the pile, write it on your wall or on your mirror with lipstick, and be completely outraged. More power to you, but it's not something that I lost any sleep over personally. Again, I'm not an artist, so maybe that's why everyone's screaming, saying, you don't know shit, you're not an artist. That's fine too. But all right, with that, we're going to close out the regular show. We're going to take a very, very quick break. We'll come back with an after show and wrap up a few other random odds and ends as I'm here off location. I'm on location, but off location of where Johnny V is. So we can have a quick after show. And then I got to get ready for DGLO. So that's been episode 571. Big shout out to Dynamite. We're going to have another giveaway on behalf of Climo Disc, which was not necessarily scheduled or planned, but we're happy to oblige. We thank him for all the insight that he gave us tonight. And we're looking forward to a great Discraft Great Lakes Open coming up this weekend. Thanks for joining us. Stick around in just a couple minutes. We'll be back with the after show. We'll see you then. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV Podcast 571's After
Show, where we have been replaced by AI robots. This is no longer John and Terry. We've fed all 570 podcasts into a machine, and now they are just going to spit out our bad takes over and over and over.
If you think about it, as they pointed out on the board, I mean, with that many episodes, of roughly 3-ish hours on average per episode, there definitely we could totally just be replaced, and they could just we could AI this out for a decade.
Oh yeah, like we're gonna retire, and pretty soon they'll have little avatars of us, and no one will know the difference. We'll just conveniently stop the video podcast and just put out audio podcasts for the next 25 years.
That would be it's maybe not that far fetched, but like you said, I mean, how bad would those takes really be? I mean, if we're not inputting weekly with our own opinions and ideas, I don't know if they might be detected. Like,
and I don't
know. That
wasn't
as dumb as it could have been.
I don't know if AI could come up with a lot of the same 90s music that you and I just rattle off. I mean, that's the problem. Are they really going to be able to pull Salt and Pepper from, right from its memory bank like you can? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, that actually unintentionally segues to something I've got for you.
Oh, geez.
Which is yesterday, I had the privilege and honor that a gentleman drove roughly 4 hours from the opposite side of Wisconsin, from way over by essentially Minnesota, drove from that area to meet up with me. We ultimately met over at the Disc Dyers Guild Studios, which is 2 blocks from my house, and used his beautiful studio space. And I was interviewed by a gentleman who does a passion podcast. No, this isn't a romance novel podcast.
Are we going to see you on the cover with Fabio somewhere?
Maybe, or would it be Fabienne from Mexico, the disc golfer? I mean, that would be the ultimate.
Either one.
Yeah. No, but the entire premise to his podcast is to find people that are passionate about their jobs, that really love what they do. And he's got hundreds and hundreds of episodes. And, he is a full-time professional podcaster, started on his own, runs the show on his own, does all the editing himself, has a background in skateboards. He owned and started a skateboard shop decades ago, and actually knew what disc golf was, but it is not actively involved in the disc golf scene whatsoever, but said he had played 10 years ago, even, and he's familiar with disc golf discs and so on and so forth. But he talks to everybody from, I think his next interviews were going to be with an aspiring professional bowler, people in all sorts of different realms within business and otherwise, just anyone that's passionate about their job and or career.
And he wanted to talk to you about stout beers.
Yes, no, even that I'm still well underqualified there. But he was actually, it was Seth Fenley of the House of Dis, Seth Fenley from the show, who at I don't know their connection. Honestly, I have no idea how they connected, but Seth had recommended me to him, to this gentleman, to Chris, and a couple Instagram messages later, and he was driving across the state to do an in-person interview. That's something also that I really admire about the dedication to his craft, is he, out of the hundreds or thousands of interviews and podcasts he's done, he does them all in person. He goes to wherever they are, and interviews them in person, as you know, and we know that, especially with Zoom and vMix and all the million, Skype, like we used to use, there's a million different ways that you could be hosting regular podcasts, but he loves the feel and the authenticity of being face to face and person to person.
It's a different dynamic for sure. Yeah, it helps.
And nothing for nothing. And when I've talked about now for years, me doing a podcast that's just focused on one person, rather than what we do, where we talk about the news and the drama and all this other stuff, and we kind of cover a variety of topics, and then sometimes also have a person that we're interviewing. If and when I ever get around to doing a disc golf guy podcast, it'll be just that. It'll be 30 to 60 minutes of just the interview with just the person, and that's it. None of the other BS like you and I love to do. Anyway, met me. We had a great conversation. He brings all his fancy, professional equipment. And he then, like I said, he's going to edit it all together, get it out in a couple weeks, of which I'm in no hurry. I probably won't listen to it because I don't need to hear myself talk more about disc golf. But it was an honor, and it was really cool. And I guess where I'm really trying to tie this all together, one of his platforms, I believe, is some form of radio or music related platform that he releases it on, in addition to some YouTube, in addition to all the normal streaming apps. But he has 3 different points where we cut away to a song. So he told me, I need you to think of 3 songs that we would cut away to.
Like 3? And
just songs. Yeah, I know. Your mind is going where mine went, which is like, well, what do you mean? Like upbeat? Do you mean new? Do you mean old? Do you mean songs that I personally just love or recommend? Or like, he just said 3 songs.
Wow. I mean, I would think It Takes Two would be one of them for you, probably.
Well,
I'm trying to guess. I would think maybe you'd throw like a Phil Collins, or maybe Neil Diamond. Maybe you'd throw a Neil Diamond song in there, not Phil Collins. Probably, I know you're a Phil Collins fan, but I think you're a bigger Neil Diamond fan, and it gives a little throwback to your mom. So I think maybe like Coming to America, maybe, just because I think a lot of people know that Neil Diamond song. But maybe you have a better one, Diamonds. I forget the name of it. Is it Diamonds in the Soles of Her Shoes? No, that's a Beatles one. But anyway,
Forever in Blue Jeans.
Forever in Blue Jeans. Maybe that's what I was thinking.
Heartlight. That's a Crackling Rose. September Morn. I mean, I didn't even think about like September Morn, and then it was yesterday was September. That would have been phenomenal, but I did not. Okay, so let's start with what would with just given no parameters at all. What would be your 3 songs that at the end of these 3 segments that you would blurt out or have him then play for you personally?
Oh my gosh. That is so hard.
Isn't it? I mean, you're so much more into music than I am. But
I would try to pick something from like 3 different eras of the music that I like. I would probably go with, when we were, you probably start to love music when you're in your early teens, 10, 12, 13. That would have been the grunge era for me. So I'd probably try to pick something there. Maybe something off of, it's so hard to narrow it down. Something off a Jar of Flies would be, maybe Nutshell is a good one. Or something off the Temple of the Dog soundtrack would be phenomenal. All Night Thing is one of my favorites. So I'd probably pick something from that era, almost certainly. I'd have to dig deep. Then I would probably grab something from, like my kind of high school-ish, late high school, like going through my kind of punk music. Probably something from a band called Face to Face, maybe Disconnected would be a good one for me. And then I'd have to go through like my early 2000s Midwest indie, and I would go with maybe something like maybe something from the Dismemberment Plan or Braid would probably get thrown in there. I mean, I've seen Jimmy Eat World more times than I can count, and they've got some phenomenal songs. So I might dig something like a deep cut from them, maybe something off their Static Prevails or their Clarity album. It's hard to narrow it down. I love Tegan and Sarah. So oh gosh, I don't know what I'd do, Terry.
Yeah. I mean, especially after really diving into a little Temple of the Dog and Pearl Jam this last weekend. When we were hanging out with some other friends our age, in their mid to late 40s. Well, so here's what I did, because it's such a vast question, and I'm thinking about where is it played and how much does it need to represent me. I mean, it does because I'm sending us off. Very first one, and it's funny because I immediately had thought of two, and then I remember even telling him in a quick intermission, I was like, I don't even know the third. Like, there's a million songs.
Mm-hmm.
Very first song, and this is spoiling it for anyone that somehow may get around to listening to that podcast via that platform. Very first song that I sent us off with after the first 20 or 30 minutes was Rob Bass, It Takes Two.
I'm one for two. I'm one for three.
It's a go-to song that I think is just so fun that so many people know, but is old, obviously of our generation and time frame. It's just a fun song that I really enjoy. Almost as I enjoy it more than Joy and Pain, also by Rob Bass. But It Takes Two by Rob Bass was the first one. And then I intentionally went completely different. And I even said this while throwing it to this one. I said, I'm going to go completely different style. As much as I love 90s hip hop, rap, whatever, some of that old stuff, I'm going to go very slow. And I'm going to switch it up to one of my last songs that I enjoyed by them, which we talked about this weekend. I went with One by U2.
Yeah, we did hear some U2 this weekend.
You couldn't go it's like so different, obviously, in terms of style and everything else, to go from It Takes Two by Rob Bass to One. And then I struggled with the third because it's like, well, which way do I go with it? Do I go any more, recent? I'm a big Swiftie. Okay, I'm not, but it would have been funny. And then finally, I really, really struggled, but I felt like it was kind of in the midst of it all. Also, going back old school, and I wanted something again more upbeat, and it's just a classic that literally everyone knows. I went with "Jump Around" by House of Pain.
Okay, yeah, classic.
A little, and I even said it, like, you hear that song, how do you not get amped, right? Like, whether that's at a sporting event.
Yeah, maybe it's a Wisconsin thing, because I feel it's a little overplayed in Wisconsin, just because we have the Wisconsin fifth quarter for the Badgers where they play Jump Around all the time, and that has spread to some other.
Done everywhere. There's no way that's unique even to Wisconsin.
No. I think Wisconsin
stadiums.
Oh, for sure, it's a stadium anthem. But Wisconsin kind of started the Jump Around for the fifth quarter thing, I believe, and it has spread more.
I mean, I think we're assuming that because we're local. Oh, let's put it this way: if you said, you put every other school or situation versus Wisconsin and put $100 on it, I absolutely am not taking that bet. I know it is very synonymous with Wisconsin and UW-Madison. I don't know that we can take credit for it. I have no idea. Maybe AI will tell you, or you can Google it. But now that's different than like if you said, "Hey, the Lambeau Leap." Clearly, we know where that came from. But anyway, it's funny. Kevin on the board asked or says, I can't stomach U2 after that free iPod album," and that's exactly what Chris asked me. He's like, "Is that off of the one that they forced on?" I said, No. This was from an earlier album. This is before I too also was kind of over U2, so to speak. So, it's a late 80s, early 90s U2, which is, again, in my wheelhouse. Now, a deeper cut definitely would have been something like, a milky cereal off of like
LL?
LL Cool J. That would have been something that would have been probably a little bit more my speed. There's in hindsight, I can now think of dozens of other songs that I could have probably given them. But anyway, those were it. Those were the three that I ultimately went with. And to be fair, I could have given them 3 Pearl Jam songs from the 10 album that I would have also probably been happy with, or like you said, that entire grunge era, and plenty of other good bands that could have fit into that category as well. So anyway, I don't know how we got on this. You said something about music, but that's or songs and Rob bass, and sure enough, that was all part of that experience. Yeah, and Tim, you're echoing exactly what I thought. You said U2 is good until Octoon Baby, and I could not agree more. That's exactly what I said.
You said that this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. And Earl says Salt and Pepper is how we got here. I mean, yeah. I mean, how could you not? I mean, you could certainly insert a. I thought an old TLC song, and it doesn't even have to be Waterfalls. They had other hits. Yeah, there's a lot of fun ways that could have went. Trying to provide a little range in what I was saying, but anyway. But yeah. Now you guys can fight about whether you like U2 or not. Totally fair. If early to mid '90s and earlier is, like you said, that's where I developed most of my music tastes, and then pretty much continued to stick with them. I almost went with Sir Mix-a-Lot's Testarossa, not Baby Got Back, but as I've now played after a few of our podcasts, I still, that brings back certain memories of being a big stereo guy in school, in high school, and Testarossa by Sir Mix-a-Lot is just a phenomenal song. What can I say? All right. This weekend, I want to quickly just touch on, and it's going to be dated for some of it, but not hot and not miserable temperature-wise here, well, in my perspective, in Michigan. We've been here in July. We've been here in some really, really scorching hot temperatures, and then you add in the toboggan with all of the hills and everything else, and this isn't just me as an overweight guy, postulating or complaining. But this weekend, we're seeing literally an cold front come in tonight as we speak. Cold front coming in, and that's bringing a completely unique weather pattern that it's dipping from high 70s, low 80s today to tomorrow. I'm looking at it right now, a high of 65, which me, perfect fall weather. I love it. Whatever, no complaints from me. But a high of 65 tomorrow, winds upwards of 12 miles per hour. Okay, that's going to make that course a little bit more challenging. Here's what's crazy. Friday, a little warmer at 70. That'll be the high that we'll see all weekend. Winds of 23 miles per hour.
That's going to be breezy.
It's going to be pleasant temperature-wise. That's going to make the toboggan course show its teeth a little bit more. Few of the new holes, few of the new T-pads, some of the added OBs, everything else that we're going to see out here. It's going to have a little more bite to it. And then as of right now, a high of 65 on Saturday with 13-mile-an-hour winds, and a high of 64 on Sunday with 10-mile-per-hour winds. All that can change. It is what it is. But that's what we're going to see for this weekend. So that's pretty crazy. Is Gannon going to get to that? He thinks he needs to average 10. What did he say? 1067 golf or something like that. He thinks roughly 9 under per round on average might do it.
I mean, that's going to be tough, but it's going to be fun. The fact that he's not going to be laying anything up because he cares about that more than probably even the win. If he has the opportunity, if he's up by, we'll say 4 strokes going into the last 2 holes, I don't think he's playing safe. Or even if he's up by 2 or 1, he's not playing safe for that. I think he's going to go for it. He cares more about that number than he does any win other than a major, probably. Because that's something that you only get an opportunity at maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times in your life. You have the opportunity to say, this is the spot I want to be in to get to this particular area.
Yeah, I mean, that, to your point, the math really has to math. And he's been doing just that. And what I'll immediately follow that up is say, with the pardon the pun, the fall from grace that she throws, Kristen, like with some of the rounds that she's had, it may take that much more of an insane effort for her to get back to that 1,000 rating.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, obviously this is all just math, but knowing how long the rating sticks on your account record, whatever, for the year, and then where things are double weighted or extra weighted, and all the things that play into ratings that are way beyond my scope in math. The point is, you have a few of those really lackluster weekends that are still within your standard deviation and they count. Yeah, you may be taking a really big chunk out of something that you're chasing. And that's not to discredit anyone or it's funny. We have all these conversations about ratings, yet there'll still be tons of pissing and moaning about saying how irrelevant they are. So keeping that in perspective, if you're concerned about them, there's a lot of things that you have to think about and factor in to the overall equation. So I guess we'll see how it all goes.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting.
Dis in the wind, all we see are dis in the wind. Yeah. Earl is saying that Gannon. He's saying that he is waiting for him to outgrow his self-promotion phase. Try thanking somebody. I mean, what I can say to that is Gannon is fully aware of some of the things that he's doing, and you said it a few weeks ago that he's looking now for different motivations potentially to continue to elevate his game. And if that's to worry about a ratings record, or if once you check so many boxes, it feels as if he's digging deep to look for more of that motivation. And I know you were the one that said that, Johnny. And I don't know. I'm never going to clearly be in a position where he is, in that you're on top of the world in so many facets. You're leading, or a near leader in so many different categories, and there's just a big old X on your back, right? Everybody, you are the favorite to win every single event. Now, how he externalizes that, that there might be different phases in his life as to how he expresses that. Right now, he certainly has all the confidence in the world, and if you like Gannon, you love hearing every word that he says because it feels like all the right stuff to say. And if you dislike Gannon, you're like, oh, that arrogant, cocky kid, I can't stand him. I think there's a lot of that perspective in there. And everybody, shows up at the table with a slightly different angle or perspective as to how they interpret what Gannon's saying and doing. That's about all that I can say about it. Just like there's so many people that are sick of him winning and think it's boring. And then if you're in Gannon's corner and you're a fan of him, you're like, man, I love watching this kid dominate. He's doing everything right. So I think it's a lot about perspective and something that has either rubbed you wrong or right to either get you in his corner or to have him oppose you. And that's going to be said of every single dominant player that comes along. They're going to go through a phase where people are going to love or hate what they're doing. I know I don't have that problem to worry about being so dominant that I have to dig for other ways to motivate me. So that's for sure. Anyway, press conference happened today. There was nothing wild or crazy that came of it, so to speak. A few funny remarks. The only thing that I really, that I verbalized, and it was totally personal, was that I selfishly wish that the Black Locust course that we're going to see at Worlds next year, I selfishly wish that somehow it was ready enough that we were playing it for one or two of the rounds of this weekend. That's just me personally, because then it acts as a preview, right? Like next year, we're not going to know for sure how it plays with all our top players until the Worlds. because there's going to be now he'll have, they'll run warm up events. They'll run people with good ratings. Will go through there. They'll make tweaks. They'll do all of those things. I'm not concerned about that. Those things will happen, but we're not going to have a full scale run of our top players all going through there in a competitive format. And that's just selfishly something I wish that we had. And it seems as if the numbers, the timeline didn't work out in that favor. But do you care? Do you wish we were seeing Black Locust this weekend?
Well, of course. I think it would be nice just as a preview. It'd be nice for variety. As much as the Toboggan is a great course, it can get a little bit repetitive, especially on a 4-day event, playing the same course 4 times in a row. Nobody likes to see that. So if we could add some variety, that would be great. It looks like they're playing it for the AMs this weekend, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's traditionally always been in the mix, but it's not quite the full. I don't believe, if I understood the answer correctly today, it's still not the full.
No, I'm sure it's not set up for the top pros. It's probably set up for the AMs, and they still need to add a little length, maybe a little bit of difficulty to it. So, of course, I'd want to see it. I just think that makes sense, and it is a little scary, and it's a little bit, I don't want to say silly, but it's a little bit interesting that we're really going to get its debut at a big event. Like there's no.
I mean, look at Ivy Hill.
I know, and I said the same thing about
that's
Ivy
just
Hill.
another example. Yeah,
and people go back now and look and be like, I'd really like to change hole 14 on that one. Hated that. That stunk. Or God, there was one other one that people really hated at Ivy Hill with a basket on a hill or something. And it's just like those are things that maybe you could have ironed out if you would have played a big event with a lot of top pros beforehand. And it's like, and you could get their feedback and say, oh gosh, guys, we really don't like this, because by the time the pros show up to play this course, it's too late. You can make little tweaks, but there's so much stuff that's already been pre-produced, such as caddy books and maps and things that, like, if you find out, you're like, oh God, that hole really is a little bit too long of a carry for the FPO field, or it's too easy for the MPO field, or it's too easy for the FPO field. Like, those are things that are kind of done. Like,
I mean, minor adjustments could be made. They could loosen or tighten some OBs if it applies to that particular hole or that opportunity. You're right. There's not going to be any sizable changes, and I will reiterate. They'll have events. They'll have testing,
of course,
that will happen. It just won't be the scale of having 20, 10, 30 rated plus players come through there. But they'll have events that will definitely have data to look at. I'm not doubting that at all. And they can make adjustments prior to the final Worlds configuration. I'm confident that will happen. It's like you said, though, there will not be time to now. Even with that being said, maybe there's a moment in the schedule next year where they get 5 of our top players that are going to want to come through and practice, because players, if they have the chance, they'll spend an extra morning or afternoon or day to say, hey, I want to go see this new course. I'm not going to wait till Worlds. We're in the Midwest. We're in the area. I can go knock out, seeing the course for the first time. And at that point, maybe some feedback does get back to Nate, and maybe they have a conversation at that point. I mean, if 20 touring players happen to go through there on their own volition, and 19 out of 20 hate hole 9, that's going to get back to Nate and the team.
Sure.
When? I don't know. I mean, if that gets back to them in mid-August, as opposed to they're ripping through here in June, those are 2 different stories as well. But all we can do is wait and see. I don't want to postulate or lament on it too much. But I do wish we were seeing it this weekend. That's all.
I'm with you.
So I'm trying to think if there was anything else that was really said that was crazy. I mean, I think there's something to be said of Owens just overall, I don't want to say longevity, the exhaustion, grind factor. I mean,
You'll rest when you're dead,
watching
man.
to watch her play all of these events, to know that she's throwing as hard as she can on damn near every hole that she plays golf on. It feels like, to know that she's out there grinding out, her putting routine, all of which has paid off. So I'm not second guessing it. There is something to be said about, as our producer likes to say, she's got that dog in her, and it's crazy. And it should be, as we've said before, it should be inspirational to some, to take some of that and bottle it up and apply it to yourself.
Take your Holland Hanley. It's kind of the opposite approach. Holland not been playing well. So what does she do? She takes a week off. Like tries to regroup, figures out what's going on, play some casual rounds, just take it down a notch. Is that the right way to do it? Maybe for her. I don't know. If Owen's having a bad week, you know what Owen's probably going to do? Play harder next week and play more and practice more. Throw 400 putts tonight instead of the normal 300 she throws. Like, it's just a different mentality. And maybe Owen would benefit from taking a week break. Maybe she wouldn't. I don't know. I'm not Owen. I'm not Holland. I don't know the right answer. I'll never be in those positions. It's just an interesting way to look at the way two different players go through the season. Because Owen had her slump early in the season. It wasn't that bad of a slump. I mean, she's still taking top tens, but she started out slower than she's been playing right now. But gosh, some people just fight through it.
And not only, as we're saying, these women we're talking about, these are number one and number two women in the standings overall. I mean, Holland Hanley's sitting in the first place comfortably right now. Owen's sitting in second place in the tour standing. So, like you're pointing out, two very different approaches. And then even similar, I think, of the MPO side, when I talked to Kyle Klein today, and I asked him about not playing CCR and everything else, and he flat out said, like, if there's something wrong or when things are going bad for me right now, he goes, going out to the field and throwing for an extra hour is going to do nothing for me. Nothing at all. He's like, I know my body. I know what I need to do. And sometimes that's just rest and relaxation. And that's exactly what he did this last weekend. He doesn't think he needs to go out to a field and, as he said, throw for another hour. None of us on any of these podcasts can second guess any of those decisions, because, as they said, they know their bodies and they can figure it out for themselves as to what's going to work and what's not. So I guess we'll see. We have another giveaway that we can do earlier, I guess, for anyone that somehow missed it in the regular show. I think we have our answers and or official submissions enough that we're going to be able to give away what was referenced earlier. I think that was a streak that Dana's going to be able to give away from our friends at Climo Disc. He had asked, when was Climo's world record streak broken? By whom? And what was their PDGA number? It's not quite a trick question, but once you know it, you should never forget it the rest of your life. And that is, Ken Climo's 9-time world record streak was then ended in 1999 at the count of 9, and it was ended by one Ron Russell, a Discraft player, whose PDGA number was 9999, ending Kenny's streak in 1990. If the freaking Illuminati and QAnon weren't involved, I wouldn't even believe this. I don't know if any of those existed at that time, but they were definitely involved, right? To end Kenny's 9-time streak in 1999 by a guy with PDGA number 9999. I mean, when it was all said and done, I'm pretty sure that new world champ, Ron Russell, then drove to the edge of the earth and tapped on the firmament or whatever they call it. This is all so obvious, right?
Yeah. So here's what we'll do. We'll give those.
Yeah. But that was the answer earlier.
Yeah, we'll give those discs away next week because the guy who won it deferred to another guy, and then Earl, and then Carney was like, "Nah, I'm cool, bro. I only throw 4 discs, 4 molds," and it's like, "Oh, okay." And so it was out there. So what we'll do is we will yeah, we'll give them away next week. We'll give away both those discs next week when you're back in the
studio. Double giveaway will happen. All right, I like it when I'm back. Okay, makes sense. And just so everyone knows, it has not been forgotten. Allie Lance, who was your tournament director for the Rocky Mountain Women's. If you're a Patreon member, you already know this. I put out the rounds with no commentary early. So if you want to just consume the action, they're out there. They're via my Patreon exclusively. I appreciate everyone that supports that. Allie is working still on getting FPO commentary added to those 3 rounds of golf. They're all going to be one single video each. So it's not a front and a back. It's all very concise. I think they're all under an hour each to give you all 18 holes. But she's still working on us getting that commentary aligned. And I love the idea that it's FPO commentary on an FPO only event. And then there was a conversation about possibly trying to have her on recently. She actually just celebrated an anniversary, a wedding anniversary on a Tuesday night. So it wasn't going to work out. So I wanted to say all of that to say we have not forgotten about our Rocky Mountain women's representation. If you're chomping at the bit for it, a version of it is available. Otherwise, having her and the full releases are still in the works on her part. So wanted to make sure that everybody knows that. So looking forward to that all happening. Carney wants Rocky Mountain oysters with salt and pepper. Yum.
Ooh.
I don't know if we're mixing a bunch of references together. You can do that. I'm into it.
All right, Terry.
Johnny, you got anything else?
Yeah, we have to talk about this past weekend.
Okay, let's do it.
You and I played an event. We played the Northwoods Open up at Sandy Point. We stayed on site. It's the first event you and I have played together in 5, 6, 7 years. Something like that.
It's been a minute.
It's been a hot minute. I think there's a Statmando for that somewhere. And there were talks last week of bets over who would win and lose. We did not do any sort of bet. We both neglected to do that. Gorgeous weather this weekend.
One of us was more prone to than the other, but that's fine. You are right. No bet was ultimately agreed upon.
Yeah, no, I said I wasn't interested in any sort of bet. I don't know. I didn't even care about what you thought, honestly. But if there would have been some sort of wager, I might have taken it up depending on what it was. I wasn't in for a financial wager, but whatever. Overall, I personally was very, very happy with my play. I know you were not necessarily in that same boat.
No, that would be a fair statement.
That would be a fair statement. I ended up beating Terry. That's what it came down to.
Yeah.
Scoreboard.
Let's just get it out there. Johnny V, after 54 holes of golf, as in 2 rounds of 27, a much shorter course, and then a much longer version of that course, different baskets. When it was all said and done, Johnny V bested me by 3 strokes, as neither of us were anywhere remotely close to a cash line.
That's not exactly true.
You finished 8 off the cash, and I finished 11 off the cash. We finished nowhere near remotely close to the cash line.
So
were you near after round 1? Absolutely.
No. I was near after the end of almost at the end of round 2. So the way the story is I walked up to hole 27, and I was 6 under par for the event. The cash line was at 8 under par at the time, and there were still groups to come through. And 27, as we know, is a very difficult hole. It's about 340 feet. Is that right?
Yeah, might be 347 or 352, something like that. Yep.
Water all to the right, beach all to the left. It's on a tiny little peninsula. I walked up to that hole and thought two things. The first was, where's the cash line? I'm 2 strokes out. It's possible the cash line moves down 1 to 7 under par. If I want to cash, I have to birdie. Period. There was no question in my mind. Like, it wasn't going to drop 2 full spots. The other thing I looked at was, where was Terry Miller? Because I hadn't looked the entire round. I didn't look at any scores the entire round. It didn't matter to me where anything was. I literally walked up to 27's hole, and then I found out I was tied with a gentleman in my group named Jeff Bakke, who we've been playing together forever. And so Jeff Bakke says, you know what? We're both at 6 under. He's like, I'm going for it. I'm going for the peninsula. And he throws the worst safe shot I've ever seen. He said he was going for the peninsula, and he ended up so far left. It was like his mind wanted to, but his body said no. Like, I don't think so, buddy. Don't be dumb. My body, on the other hand, didn't make that same decision. And I threw it in the water. And at that point, I knew that I was not going to cash because I was going to take a bogey. Now, ultimately, looking back, the cash line never did get down to 7. It stayed at 8. So it didn't really matter what I did on hole 27. But I would have made a much different decision as far as cash line on 27 if I was in the cash. But yeah, so I was very much a possibility of cashing going into hole 27. I made the decision to run it. Now, in hindsight, I made a very poor decision in that I thought about this afterwards like an idiot. I should have played safe on the drive and really run at the approach. Like, that's the smarter move because of the way the hole plays, there's a dock that runs out on 27. So if you go for the green and miss, you play from the dock, which I think you did as well. I did when you don't make it to land. And my first disc from the dock then didn't make it to the land. I kind of fluffed it. My second one, I ran harder and it went past the basket, but I was told it was OB. And my third one, I just made sure to play super safe. So I was shooting like, I was throwing, I think I was throwing 8 coming back, laid up, took a 9 on the hole, and then later found out that my second disc from the dock was in fact OB, but it had definitely crossed land, and the spotter didn't really understand what there was a lot going on at the time, and so unfortunately he made a wrong call. I didn't play provisional. I didn't even think about it. I trusted the spotter. It cost me 3 strokes. I didn't really care because at that point I knew I wasn't cashing, and I knew I was still beating Terry Miller because I had you by 9 going into that last hole. So yeah, so to say that we weren't close to cash, I was close to cash until the very last hole when I ran. Because if you play safe and then run at the approach, the worst you're going to take is a 4 probably. But I made the decision in my head to no, I'm going to go for it on the drive, which was the wrong decision. I made a bad play because I don't think I can reach it anymore. Like, maybe on a really good pull with some wind, I think I can get there. But just there was no wind to speak of. There was nothing. And I came up like 30 short of it. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean,
but you're right. That dropped me from being 6 under par to even for the weekend and being much, much further from the cash line at the end of the tournament versus I was with 1 hole to go. So yes, but you're right. When we both finished far away from the cash line. That is not a question.
Yeah, it is not worth mentioning that those were 2 of the lower rated rounds in like the last 10 or 15 years for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would, and for what it's worth, along with your story on 27, I also was certainly at a don't give an F mentality. Had gone very aggressive with that hole, knowing there was where I was sitting, and ultimately went out of bounds. It had somebody honk a pontoon boat horn while I was throwing from the dock on my OB shot, which trickled out of bounds by inches. I took a 6 on that hole myself. So not the 9 that you took, But at that point,
exactly, it didn't.
Fair to say, I was not concerned. I was far more concerned about the tin cup heroic of trying to throw it in than I was about any score. If I took had it lined up that I took the 6 or a 10 or any other number, I was certainly at a mode where I had not really cared whatsoever. And that's not like an excuse or anything, but it definitely was not my effort of how I was concerned about going out of that event. And when it was all said and done, it was it was a less than stellar performance. And at one point, it gave me the urge or the inkling to never want to play disc golf again. And also it gave me the inkling of like, man, maybe I should go out and care about disc golf and try and play it on a serious, like, so it's funny. I mean, that's all part of sports and specifically probably with disc golf for a lot of us that have watched, like, there's days where things go really right for you and it feels great and you can't wait and it feels so easy. And there's days where you're like, why do I own these Frisbees and what am I doing out here with my time? So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Big shout out. I think the big takeaway for me, the big shout out, besides the sheer domination of Johnny over me this weekend, which has only happened
less than a handful. I was say probably less times than I can count on one hand.
Hundreds of times going against each other. More importantly, good times with friends. Lots of people that I personally have not seen for years. And, time at Sandy Point Resort, Mike and Michelle Cousins, I've talked about them hundreds of times in lots of different podcasts or other media formats and capacities. Mike and Michelle Cousins, who own Sandy Point Resort, just truly one of the greatest gems in all of our sport. And I have traveled now to 12 different countries or 15 different countries for disc golf, hundreds of courses and hundreds of tournaments. And time at Sandy Point Resort, even with Johnny V beating me, is still some of the best time I could ask for in the world. So that's how much I value that place, those people, those experiences. As they say, a bad day of disc golf is still better than a good day at work, or some line like that. That is magnified times 100 when you're at Sandy Point. So
true or false? True or false? At one point, I was leading the division after in this first round. I was in the first round that we played. I was the short course, like 10 down through 13, and I remember Steve Held had turned to me and he texted me or something, and he was like, "Dude, like, enough." Because again, you have to get those birdies on the front, like the front 12 or 13, because the back you can get stuck in some pretty tough places on that course if you get off the fairway, which I did, because I think I was 10 down. I ended up at 8 under for the round. I started lighting it up really well, and Carney, I think it was Carney on the board, or maybe it was Earl, that said, let's be honest, you could probably think of 4 or 5 strokes in putting that really cost you the cash. And 100% for me, that's the case. My second round, I putted like trash. I missed, I think 4, maybe 5 inside the circle, 2 of which were straddle putts, which I'm not very good at, from like 25. But as opposed to the first round where I was hitting everything. And that's why I was 2 strokes out of cash going into the final hole and thought, screw it. If I'm going to cash, this is what I need to do. So, and you and I both don't care about our rating. So it's not like I sat there and cared about the 9 I was going to take. My only thought was if I can get into the bottom cash and if I can beat Terry Miller. Those are my 2 thoughts. Because to be honest, I didn't want, before I looked, if you would have been at like 3 down and I was at 6 down, I probably would not have played quite that aggressively. I would have maybe thought a little bit differently about it. But ultimately, my first priority was whether or not I could get to cash, and that's I couldn't. So that's just the way it goes.
Well, it just, again, incredible weekend. Congrats,
So
Kale LaVisca,
He
your
lapped the
MPO
field.
champion. Obviously, capable of playing MP40. So Kale takes it down, I think, for his 7th time winning this event, is what I saw in the post. Our good friend Steve Held ultimately went on to win MP40, which is very impressive. So lots of good golf, lots of great memories. All of that, and yet you somehow neglected to mention who was the biggest cribbage winner.
You did.
And where's my money? Where actually I am owed money.
You are owed money. I do owe you some money. So we did play some doubles cribbage, and you got partnered up with Steve Held, and I can look
not that
and see.
I needed him.
No,
not that I needed him.
No, not at all. He was an anchor, if anything, Terry. You carried.
My singles cribbage play also. My singles cribbage play also had me in the black. So
we didn't play any singles. We played 3-hand, but this kind of singles.
Well, whatever.
Yeah, it's
so
you won. So everyone knows you won 134 quarters.
Yeah.
So I owe you. I owe you 134 quarters, Terry. And just real quick question. In poker, who knocked you out, and who ended up winning?
Yeah, me. I think Matt Parker ended up winning.
Matt Parker. No, Matt Parker and I split because he didn't. He didn't want to go up against me.
I will wait for my $33 and change to show up. Is the main takeaway.
I'm gonna have it here in quarters, you jerk stick.
That's fine. I'll take those quarters to get looked at by a collector. Anyway, with that, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
I just thank you to everyone that joined. Sorry about the late start tonight. Sorry about the pushback, but that's the way it all had to happen. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to Dana for joining during the regular show. Thank you to all the support that we received throughout the weekend, and kind words and great conversations with people up north that don't see Johnny R.I. that often. Some people were sad, some people weren't, but we do appreciate the support for the endeavors that we've had throughout these years. And then obviously to everyone that's out there right now, I'm going to keep searching. I've had a few people reach out about some random events, both regionally and internationally, and maybe I can take my cribbage skills along with a few better disc golf skills to another course in another country. That's what I'm looking forward to. So hope you guys enjoy the broadcast this weekend. You've got a really unique crew in that we've got Ian Anderson with Sarah Holcomb on the FPO side, and then Ian Anderson with Big Germ on the MPO side. I'll be out on the course, probably not dying, but I'll be out on the course for all 8 rounds, and looking forward to everything that the DGLO will offer us this weekend. Michigan Disc Golf, you got to love it. Thanks to all of the people that tuned in tonight to watch. We love and appreciate all of the support that you guys give us one way or another, whether that's Patreon or chiming in or being part of a giveaway, whatever it is. We thank you so much. For Johnny V, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. That's Podcast 571's after show. Enjoy this weekend, and we'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.